Well, all right. Welcome. Class is in session, man. To be a badass, you have to kick ass. The first ass you need to kick, Mac,
is your own.
Once again, this is CJ, the Mental Motivator. You are a guest here today, man, on the University of Badassery, the listeners, the podcast to end all podcasts, at least in our own minds. Everybody has their own heroes in life. We just happen to be our own. So, seated to the right of me once again, what am I going to introduce him this time?
Oh, man, please make it good.
The Dean of Destroying Douchebaggery. Once again, the fire-breathing professor of ass-kickery, the epitome of toxic masculinity, the call sign Raven, Patrick Heavy Metal McNamara.
Thank you, Covey leader. Rock, bro. Just follow me around to the pub when before I walk in, you could just intro me like that.
That's right. Well, for those who are watching by video, they can see that we're joined once again by an in-house guest this time. And I'm pretty excited about this one because I got to meet Ric Hogg. When was that? Just over, 2 months ago? Was that how long it was?
It was about 2 months ago.
We were at the Rogue American Apparel Fort Bragg grand opening, and you came by, and we chatted for, it seemed like about 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, at least.
And just awesome conversation. So ever since then, I've had Rick, you in my mind for the show. And so I'm glad we had this opportunity to do this. So let me first just welcome you, Ric Hogg of War Hogg Tactical, to the University of Badassery podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So good to have you here, bro.
Thanks, Pat.
And so we're going to talk a lot more about who Rick is and how we know Rick. And he's not just somebody we picked up off the street. He looks cool. Pick him up in the truck. Hey, man, you need a ride?
You want to do a podcast?
Rick's like, I've never done a blogcast before. But let me just say at the outset that to thank you for our sponsors for sponsoring this show. First of all, Invader Coffee, our good friend Wes Whitlock, invadercoffee.com. We have here in front of us the Blaze Ops Blend by T-Max.
Blaze Ops Blend, as good as ARs, cars, and guitars.
There you go.
Rock and roll.
And we'd like to welcome our new show sponsor, Taconic Distillery. And we've been going back and forth with them and excited to have them on. They come even endorsed and recommended by our in-house expert, Brad Halling.
Yeah, man.
Who we're still trying to persuade to get on here.
Bro, I got to tell you, best bourbon I ever had.
Really?
Yep. Now, I don't have, I'm not as distinguished in the bourbon industry as Brad is or something like that. But I sample quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
I drink bourbon 3 or 4 times a week, probably.
Yeah. Every time we've drank, you always finish the night with that.
Yep. And damn, man, that is good. Not because it's sitting in front of me. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we got 3 bottles in front of us plus the bag of Invader, and we're drinking Blaze Ops Blend. So, in fact, somebody had hit me up afterwards and said, hey, what does it cost to be a sponsor of the show? And I said, well, we're actually not looking for sponsors. It's got to be a good fit, obviously, but also it's got to be something that both, Mac and I will consume, we can endorse, and whatever.
Gotta be organic to us.
Yeah, and it makes sense because bourbon, especially is a part of Mac's life. It's going to become more part of my own narrative, my own drunken narrative from here on out, obviously. But thank you guys for Taconic for coming on board, hooking us up with some free bourbon, and that's really what made the deal for us.
If it's free, it's for me.
That's right. And, of course, Invader, as always, keeps us supplied. And Wes Whitlock, brother in arms, who, we got to get
Yeah, he's got to be on.
I was talking to him the other night. I said, we went over it again. He goes, yeah, I owe you guys a trip. I said, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna pipe Wes in. Wes has to be
He's got to be present,
like Rick is here. So, so anyway, and unofficially sponsored today by War Hogg Tactical.
Damn straight.
Thanks, brother.
So, but anyway, and also, of course, always for the supplying the music for the intro and outro to the University of Badassery podcast, our very good friend Metal Mike.
Metal Mike rocks, bro.
Yeah, Metal Mike is the shit.
He could shred, man.
Yeah, he's a.
I still listen to the the Halford records
Yeah.
that Metal Mike was on and go, holy crap, man, that guy's legit.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that Dimebag's tattoo on his leg is the Halford Resurrection logo?
Right.
So
Yeah, cool.
I said, Mike, that's got to bless your
Yeah,
heart, man,
right.
to know that Dimebag put that on your leg.
Damn, man. Huh. I did not know that.
Yeah. So little metal trivia.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, yeah, thank you, Metal Mike, for the music. But again, we're going into this. This is a special day today. Last time we did this, Mac, it was on 9/11.
Yep.
People really, even though we had just one microphone, people really got one of our best podcasts that people said was.
Good.
Yeah. Real serious dynamic. But it's
you,
always
you get the feedback, bro. I don't get any of that shit.
Yeah, you do. They tell you.
No, they get it. I get it on the road.
Yeah, on the road.
Yep.
Yeah, I
on
get
the
it.
road
I get it
especially.
in the inbox.
Yep.
Well, that doesn't sound right.
You want it in the inbox.
But anyway, Ric Hogg, so great to have you with us today, man. Happy Veterans Day to the both of you guys. Thank you so much for all that you've done, your service, and the things that you continue to do by using your experience and mindset to teach and encourage and provide safe gun handlers and better citizens. And but anyway, such an honor, Ric, to have you here on the podcast. Man, you doing well? All is well?
Doing great, brother. Hey, first of all, thanks for the support. All the listeners out there, happy Veterans Day, Mac. Appreciate
Right on.
it. Thank you for your service.
Same.
And really out to the families as well, because we couldn't do it without them.
Oh man, yeah, no kidding.
You know,
Not enough credit.
Start right there, Ric, by saying because we have so many holidays that are made up by Hallmark or whatever, and so how serious is this taken? Veterans Day, what does this mean to you guys?
So really, for me, it's not about myself. It's about the other veterans, but really more from my standpoint, it's about my family and the sacrifices that they have done over the years. So, I mean, married 24 years in the military, 2 kids, that's a long road.
Yeah, man.
So really for me, it's throwing them the bone of going, hey, thank you. So when people hit me up and go, hey, thank you for your service, it's not, I tell them, don't thank me, thank them.
Yeah, right.
So,
dude, not enough credit is given.
No,
you know,
and that's really the whole. They are, and Mac, you can attest to this. The family's the bedrock. Yep. Everyone out there, we're out doing our thing, and in my mind, that's easy.
Without that solid support mechanism at home like that,
yeah, no,
man, you could lose yourself.
Totally. Yeah,
and lose focus, and which has a detrimental effect on not only you but
everybody else.
Yeah, everybody else around you, your teammates and everything. The mission, all that stuff. Yeah. So you pegged it, man. Good on you.
So it's not just a trite type. Okay, well, it's a holiday. We'll say yes, thank you, but
here's the thing. I agree 100% with what Ric said. It's not about me. I'm thinking those guys who generations ago, did stuff for our country that nobody asked them to. They went ahead and did this stuff. And the same goes for this generation too. But I will caveat and say that I always feel like a tool when somebody says thank you for your service. Because one is, you join the military because it's selfless.
Right.
When if you're expecting thanks, it is no longer selfless. That's
right.
It's very, there's a lot of ego there now. It's very selfish. Right. So I never know what to say other than, well, thank you for paying your taxes.
Just a simple thanks for your support.
Right. Yeah.
But on that, Mac, to me, the guys that you see with, because they're going few and fewer, but the World War II veterans.
Yeah, right.
If a guy's wearing that hat, it doesn't have to be Veterans Day.
Right.
Any day of the week.
Oh, hell yeah.
You see him, beeline, hey man, shake his hand. Thank you for your service. And then especially too with the Vietnam vets.
Yep.
Because those guys got crapped on.
Right.
So just try to throw
and
them.
And we could say the same about Korea because they were forgotten.
Yeah. True.
And man, the shit that they went through.
Yep.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit, especially the Vietnam guys. How do you guys see that particular generation?
So I can tell you from my standpoint, with my dad being a Vietnam vet, he still to this day won't talk about it.
Really?
And, as he gets older, I try to prod poke, but be, courteous at the same time. And he pretty much gives me, hey, because I try to get some of his experiences just so I know. He's like, same as yours, just in a rice paddy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. So it's...
Why do you think he's reluctant?
My gut tells me probably the buddies he's lost, but I can't confirm that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's probably the same,
Was he drafted?
No.
Oh.
Nope. No, he, volunteered, went in so he was part of the first Marines that went into Da Nang in 64.
Oh, wow.
And actually he was an old guy. I think he was 21 when he went over there. So in the, demographics of that, he was considered the old guy.
Yeah. 21.
Really, 21.
Right.
Wow.
But yeah. So that's the only thing I can, would be my gut that tells me. So I don't know. Yeah.
What you meant?
I was fortunate enough having come in the Army in 83 and going through the Special Forces course in 84. There was still a lot of senior leadership who were Vietnam vets, and they were career SF guys.
Right.
So the lessons that they learned, the amount of knowledge and wisdom over knowledge, really too, that they were able to pass on to us was, priceless. It was unbelievable, the amount of experience that they had in just, small unit tactics, basic infantry knowledge stuff. Not only that, but simple shit like how to stay clean in the field and what you should be eating and how much you should be hydrating, because, they had to learn it. And then we went through a long spell of basically peacetime Army, between Vietnam and I mean, so I'm very fortunate to have served on active duty with a bunch of those guys who are still active.
Right.
Yeah.
So now,
plus they were cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
were they?
Yeah.
Well, you had obviously so many who were embittered and were part of the
Right.
anti-war thing at that time. So it's a mixed bag. Other wars were just more. Everybody was kind of all in. There wasn't as the division, so to speak. And so because a lot of guys got drafted in, you have these different, outlooks on things. Something can be a lot more horrible. I mean, that was obviously an extremely violent thing because you were, this guerrilla type thing. It became this seek and destroy kind of mission, just body counts for the most part. So it was that sort of thing. And so I can imagine for young guys, even those who volunteered, must have been a very, impacting.
Yeah, like I said, maybe him listening, and I mean, we're going to see him, for Thanksgiving, but maybe he'll open up some more. I don't know.
On. Yeah. I never know.
Yeah. Is he local?
He's down in Florida.
Oh, okay. Is that where you're from?
No, I'm originally from New Hampshire. So he's kind of a classic snowbird.
Right.
He goes back and forth between, bails out of New England in the wintertime because we know how that is, Mac,
Oh yeah.
Lovely up there, and then goes down to Florida for the wintertime.
So everybody's up from the we've been New England for a while.
Yeah,
man.
we've been fat with New Englanders on this podcast, bro.
Powerhouse.
Jamie was Connecticut.
Yeah.
You're in New Hampshire.
Yep.
I'm from New York originally. Of course, Mac, Connecticut.
Yeah.
We're all stuck down here in the Dixie.
That's right. I love it, man. I love North Kakalaki.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, I do. I'll be staying. I mean, I've established roots here. I've been here since 1990, North Carolina.
Okay. Wait, but where were you stationed? Of course, you were in Germany then.
Before. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I was, all the regular duty stations: Fort Benning, Fort Lewis, Fort Bragg.
Yeah.
And a couple different places in Germany, and then back to Fort Bragg.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So as we explore this veteran space here today, both you guys are also from the same team, Special Forces. How long for you?
29 years.
29 years. So why don't you take us back? Give us a little Ric backstory. How'd you get to this chair?
How did I get to this chair? Wow. How far do we want to go back? So really, I'll kind of date it back, obviously talking about my dad, my grandfather, military background. There was always a drive to go, join the military. Pat came in a little earlier than I did, so was able to do the SF Baby program. Mm-hmm. It was funny because I was talking to the recruiters, I think when I was 16, it was still there. So right around, I think it was 86, 87, somewhere that program went away. So the best I could get was, airborne infantry option. Okay, fine. But to back up one other thing, I think Jamie talked about as well. I think you as well, having that wrestling background.
Yeah, right.
To me, that was a huge point. I didn't realize it then, but today, coach would sit there and smoke us for like the first 2 or 3 weeks, and it was all just physical stuff, no moves, no nothing, till he got his magic formula. And I think that going back day after day, embracing the suck, for lack of better terms, built kind of that, mental toughness, to do some things later on in life. But long story short, SF baby program, because I always wanted to go SF, but that program fizzled away. No problem. Do the airborne infantry, wind up doing that, coming to Fort Bragg. So I got here in 88 and I never left.
Right.
Yeah.
Never left.
82nd Airborne.
Yep.
Do that. Desert Storm, come back from there. No pre-Ranger. So sign me up for Ranger School, right? Knock that thing out. Why get abused beforehand?
Right.
Yeah. Shortly after that, do SFAS, and that started, the whole SF career from there. And then we run to, 2017, 29 years later, and get out. And
Yeah. So now you did obviously tours during this past 15 years, both theaters, Iraq and Afghanistan. Okay.
Yeah. I think I had 13. My math serves me right.
Yeah. Now without
my fingers and stuff all there.
Now, of course,
that's a lot of push, man.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
You and I have, we chatted offline and how much you want to talk about this kind of stuff. Cause obviously, everybody knows who Mac is, and you guys, again, come from this similar background, but it is elite tier 1 kind of units. You have that assault background. So this is not, you're not out there. You're not just the Green Beret and advising you. You went there to take care of bad guys.
Yeah,
that's your thing.
Yep.
What's interesting, Rick, is, and I had this impression, when we talked at the Rogue American, and I remember I told my kids about it, and I said, I've never had this happen where I'm talking to somebody and it's just a thought suddenly hits me about what somebody is, and I want both you guys to kind of break this down. But you were talking about the challenges that police officers have with being fearful of lawsuits and things going wrong and all of that. And so they're not operating with impunity when it comes to drawing their firearm and the second guessing and all of this sort of stuff. And as you started to talk about what you tell them, it just suddenly hit me. Dude, I was like, this guy is a killer. But but it's Rick, right? Just like it's like, it's just like
he's just some guy.
Yeah, you're just some guy. If he was to walk by you in the bar, you would not think this guy, is bust kicking indoors and killing bad guy. You would not think that. But it's just, there was something about your demeanor. I mean, I'm looking at the mechanics of your visage, and it just really, the thought hit me. I said, oh my God, he's a killer. But not like when you say, meet some rough guy in the street. No, he's a real killer. Right. I mean, this is, I'm listening to someone, the highest, the most highly trained killer in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just like, but that thought just hit me. But how matter of fact he was communicating, and I thought, okay, all that goes into that moment that he's communicating, and I'm feeling that, and I'm getting that thought. It's like, okay, I need to unravel that. I need to make a mental note to unravel that next time I talk to Mac. And now that I've got you both here, why did I get that sense? Is it just the training? Is it, because obviously you have to justify that, where some people struggle with it.
I don't think it's a matter of justifying. I think it's just and I hate to use the word mindset because it's such a broad topic. Right. And I think the comment I told you was the body being an acceptable bullet trap.
Yeah.
And wishing I had a camera to see the looks on the LE guys' faces, because it's like you tell them that and they're like dumbfounded. It's like, dude, you're in a job that will kill you. If you have to engage another human being, this is okay to put bullets into. It's all good. and you just start talking from, it's all good. But the point being, you're trying to save your life, and you're trying to talk to these guys. And as you start talking, if you want to say, I don't know if the word passion is the right word, but it's like, hey man, I'm trying to teach you a skill set that's going to save your life based off of experiences that I have done to make shots, and you try to instill this in them, because too many times out there, I hear guys say, I should have shot. Cool. And I followed up with, why didn't you? Because to me, and Mac, I don't think there was probably a time where you should have shot and didn't. You know what I'm saying? If you're coming up and you've ID'd that threat and he's a threat to you, you're taking the shot. These guys out there in the streets get so much liability pumped at them, they're afraid to.
Yeah.
The answer is, I'm afraid of losing my house. I'm afraid of being sued. I'm afraid of going to jail. But you're within the confines of the law. But somehow they're held to a higher standard, but a lower training. So it's all backwards. So you just try to give these guys the mindset. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing, to instill in them. It's like every time you pull a car, every time you go to a domestic, anytime you go to a call, your life's in jeopardy. You've got to sit there and pull the blinders off and not think that, hey, this magical blue suit or whatever color your uniform is going to protect you. Yeah. Because people have ill intent towards you. So
now obviously there's something, that's no more, can't get any more legal than an elite special forces unit being fully financed by the U.S. government, personally ordered by the president of the United States to go take care of something overseas, whether the public knows about it or not. Right. So going into that, you can't be someone, you hear stories about how certain, soldiers, even going back to the Civil War, would not fire. So they'd come back and they'd like 5, musket balls still in their barrel. And I think the military even had a challenge with that, changing with the targeting and things that they were using to get guys to fire. So when we talk about doing that with impunity, it does take a particular mindset. So but you can't ever divorce the moral question from that. You know what I mean? Because you're taking life, but it's not even a conflict. In other words, it is such a resolved issue that you're going to do it with such execution that your eyeballs are the last thing he sees if he's lucky.
Here's the thing. They get a vote. So people think that we arbitrarily go out there and just kill everybody. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. And especially with the LE guys, oh, you're an Army guy, you guys just shoot everybody. It's like, no, we do surgical shooting.
Oh my God, yeah.
If anything, we're paid not to shoot.
Right.
And you tell people that and they can't grasp the concept. But the point being is you're trying to instill in these guys something to go, hey man, when this guy causes you some type of harm, you flick a switch and it's like this. You voted wrong. Sorry. Right. I mean, there's not a mental question. There's not, if you want to say, oh man, I had to get to take somebody's life. I'm not sitting there bragging saying, yeah, I run around just burning people down. Right. But when it's time and when they've voted and they've got ill intent towards me, my friends, my dog. Right. Because yes, he's part of, he's a U.S. service member as well. Right. He just has 4 legs. Yeah. You're going to sit there and do the business. So it's, that's the easiest way to look at it, and trying to get that to these guys to go, hey man, I got it. Sometimes you draw your weapons out early for whatever situation, but when you go, I should have shot. Why didn't you? And I just, I contemplate, because how many officers have been killed out there because they've been hesitant, or that, millisecond pause has cost them their life.
Product of training.
Totally.
And some of it's culture, within a department. I love my LEOs, and it's too bad, when Rick said that to you, how it resonated with you. Yeah. It's too bad it didn't resonate the same way, or it doesn't resonate the same way with others that we train. Yeah. Because that's a powerful message. And you want that shock type of effect that it had on you. But I love my LEOs, and too many of them, they're a product of their training. And back to that mindset thing, when I train like regular LEOs, I tell them, if you have to be the masters of adaptability. And I define that as using your existing knowledge, have a positive response to emerging situations. So if they get called for something like domestic disturbance, something like that, benign, if they're not envisioning on the drive there, if they're not envisioning something like 300-pound naked redneck covered with blood with a AK in one hand and a severed head in the other,
Right.
They're already losing that fight because they have no idea what that situation can emerge into, how it can develop. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it develops poorly for them.
Yeah. And of course you have the opposite where the Dallas female police officer who shot the guy in his own apartment.
Yeah.
But they're all, I mean, when you look at it at the end of the day, like Mac's saying, it's all training. And the unfortunate thing is these guys just aren't getting what they need.
Yeah.
You know, they're not getting enough force on force. They're not getting enough live fire. They're not getting time. I mean, I was never, you know, an LE guy. I don't claim to be.
Right.
But I would say this just from a leadership standpoint. Hey, man, if I'm running that shift that night, hey, man, we can all take 5 minutes prior to we get out in the street. Clear your guns. We're doing some dry fire. Get them, you know, get them in the mindset.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. You may not come home tonight or today or whatever you're doing, you know, and they've got to sit there and get switched on, get their mind right and go. But just like you're saying, like with the domestic, they can't open up their eyes. They're so just driving along. You got to start taking everything in. What am I seeing?
Right.
And it's just trying to get them, you know, not saying you've got to smash everyone you see, but just be aware of your situation.
So does that, well, how do you go, because you just brought up an interesting point, which is that you don't have the LEO background. He doesn't have the LEO background, but yet you're speaking into this community. How do you guys adjust for that? I know I've spent a lot of time talking to Mac about this, and I know you feel the same, which you guys are very passionate, as he just said, about your law enforcement
100%
community, because Mac sees them, those are his protectors. He often says, so speaking into that community, what are you adjusting? I mean, obviously you're seeing the attitude in the lack of training, but how are you adjusting to say, man, how do I take my kind of experience and give it to these guys without blowing their gaskets?
I think what resonates most is that seeing our drive, work ethic, the motivation, the dedication to training, and that resonates, because we are vicarious animals, and they see that and they go, damn, man, that dude's still fucking rocking. I want to be like that. I want to have that kind of drive and work ethic too, because I mean, he's done with doing all this stuff and he's still doing it. And one of the things I tell them is I always thank them when they come to training, because dude, you're protecting me now, bro. When shit goes bump in the night at my kid's house, I want you there. Just not at my house, because I want to get some first.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
And to Mac's point, all that same stuff, but I'll ask him questions. Hey man, let me see your tourniquet. If I could tell you the number of tourniquets still in the package. And I'm like, hey man, that's a piece of life-saving equipment. Do you even know how to use it? So it's just, you throw questions at them, like you're saying, kind of do that, self-learning there, where they're sitting there going, didn't think about that.
Right.
And then you'll see them scurry off and pull it out of the room.
Well, that brings up an interesting thought about the mindset thing, because you guys come from, this tier 1 class where you're being vetted every day. You're being proven every day. You know that the hammer could fall at any time. And so you have to constantly prove your value, worth. And so obviously that, plus the community that you live amongst your brothers that are there, is sufficient to keep you constantly working on everything from tourniquet to dry firing and the rest of it. That's a challenge with the law enforcement community, because it's kind of a tenured position in a way. There's not that threat over them, because so much of it is uneventful traffic stops and that sort of thing. So how do you get that kind of outside of living the example, so to speak? Now, we've got a lot of law enforcement and first responders that listen to the show. Man, how do you get that across?
One of the things I would tell them when I run an LEO specific course is how I have that spiel. I appreciate the world in which you live. It's a world riddled with ambiguity, where you have to be the master of adaptability. I understand that you're damned if you damned if you do. You're in constant fear of litigation liability, and there's a fucking lawsuit attached every round you fire. The other thing I say is, which differentiates like their life compared to the life I lived or we lived, is that when they cross the threshold, of their home, going outside, they're in combat.
Yeah.
They just don't know when the pro timer is going to go off. They have no idea. But as soon as they cross that threshold, they're in combat.
Right.
And that's how you should think.
Right.
You're no longer in the white. Boom, you're in the yellow, teetering on orange.
Right. Right.
Because they have no idea how the simplest situation, like how traffic stops go horribly south, those kind of things. They have to be switched on and and be in the yellow or in the orange constantly.
Yeah. So the speed of their draw, for example, how fast they are, those type of things obviously have to be worked on a lot. Imagine even the CQB kind of experience that because they go into places, right? You smiled about that.
Yeah, they do. And nothing against these guys. But man, it's just, you look at kind of some of the techniques they're using, it's old school. You're using, I don't know if you're familiar or ever seen the guys use the hallway boss Mac, but you still got, some elements out there. So you got a guy in the middle of the hallway trying to control people left and right and all this other stuff. And you're trying to teach these guys. And then, for me, the thing is I want to bring the canine on board as well. Mm-hmm. So, because again, that was kind of my deal. Starting to incorporate the canine, but then you got departments that want to keep them on a long line. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you're self-defeating the purpose of your dog.
Right.
But Chief says we got to do it. So
liability.
At the end of the day, that's everything. Mm-hmm. Everything is tied to liability. And here would be my thing. Imagine this. And I challenge the chiefs across the country. Step in front of your people and say, here's the rope. If you do something, I will walk side by side with you. If you're wrong, I'm still going to walk side by side with you. I'm not going to cut you away like, old baggage. But stick with your people. Trust their decision. Trust what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And if you don't think the right things are happening, get them the training they need.
Yeah.
But it's kind of leadership 101.
Right.
If that chief says, hey, I got your back, just let them do their business. They're good people out there. They're in a very difficult situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in every department, county, city, the culture is different.
Yeah.
In every one of them. Some have great cultures where, guys have training funds and they have training time and it's encouraged upon. And then you have places like, remember we talked about, where was that? In Minnesota.
Oh yeah. Where the
mayor banned warrior training, banned his cops from doing training on their own. Are you freaking kidding me?
Using scary guns.
I had some contact me, and we chatted about training, but damn, man, it's unfreaking believable.
Now this is different, obviously, with the SWAT teams. Those guys have got to be a little bit more prepared, but
they
it depends on the department.
There's good ones. Don't get me wrong. There's great ones out there.
Yeah, because we worked a lot with local and federal law enforcement while we were active in the unit, because we'd have this. I don't know how to explain it, but kind of a co-use on certain training facilities and that, but where they own the facility or building or city block. So they would give us carte blanche to work in that area so long as we gave them training as well. So I saw some really good SWAT guys that we were able to tune up a little bit just here and there. But then again, damn, like Rick was saying.
Yeah, there's not many like Jared Reston.
Yeah, man.
You know Jared? We had him on the show. He was in that just brutal, like face-to-face gun.
Yeah, got shot 7 times.
Yeah,
45.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah.
But he's just so committed to the training aspect and that sort of thing. It would seem to me that a chief would be driven to do that because it's not just that it seems to solve so many problems. If you're really concerned about the liability, than training.
Exactly.
To help them make better decisions, especially the split second stuff, especially, like I'm sure with you guys, the CQB, you're doing these things so many times and making sure you don't hit hostage and the wrong person, carefully being watched, because you have to do this at night. You have to do this in different scenarios. And so you have to be able to, clear rooms and all this sort of stuff. It's not always going to be a SWAT team that goes in. You're going to have beat type police officers that have to go into a home. And like Max said, are you anticipating that there's going to be that redneck in there with the severed head covered in blood? I mean, is that what you're anticipating? Because that's what you better be prepared for. And so that means all senses on alert, how you size up the space and all these sorts of things that you guys know. It would seem to me that a chief would want to double up on that and fight the laziness, fight the apathy, because if you're not training and doing anything, then the natural net effect is that guys are going to get apathetic.
Yeah. I don't know. It all makes sense sitting here, and I don't know why it doesn't resonate from the other side,
right?
And why these guys aren't, trying to reach out and go, hey, because like you're saying, if my guys are trained, if I've put them in scenarios, then that way when that potential liability issue comes up, they're going to handle it right.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, if you look at it, it's just lack of training or lack of situational awareness, and nothing on these guys. But when you start day one at BLET or the academy or whatever they want to call their program, liability. And
they're also,
it gets in there.
Right.
And I mean, you've got great people out there, but they've got that, that little bit of doubt in the back of their head that at that split second when they need to make that decision, do I draw my gun? Am I going to lose my house? Do I fire this shot? All these questions. There's no question.
Right.
It's a simple vote, wrong, boom, done.
Right.
I mean, and it's got to be that process.
You're a killer, Rick.
It has nothing to do with being a killer. It just has to do with
us civilians out here. That's just.
But CJ, it has to do with this, right? Number one, back when I used to teach North Carolina concealed carry, that'd be one of the first things I'd ask. People are you willing, to kill another human being? Some people say, well, I'm just going to shoot him in the leg. This isn't for you. This isn't for you.
Right.
Nothing. And I'm not saying you've got to sit there, but even for the LEOs out there, there's some that I question whether they're willing to take another human life. And it's not out there just murdering people.
Right.
Okay. You're looking to either to defend yourself, other citizens, whatever the case may be. Whatever the law in that state warrants, deadly force is authorized, you can use it. But when doubt's back there, doubt will stop you every single time. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, they're being killed. And, you're just trying to get them in that mindset of getting, hey, man, your ultimate goal is to come home at night.
Right.
You, your partner, your community, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you're up against one opponent and you doubt yourself, you're outnumbered.
Yeah. There you go.
Totally.
Well, I've talked about this on this podcast before, but, when you were a kid and you went to school, and Mrs. Smith is your teacher, and then one day you get the substitute and it's Miss Jones. And everybody always thought goof off day, right? Because it's a substitute. So obviously they don't know crap. And so the curriculum is on hold for a day. So there's a difference between being a substitute and being a representative. Representatives will carry authority. Substitutes don't, because they're not representing anything. Whereas let's say, your teacher is Miss Smith, and unbeknownst to you, she lives with Miss Jones. In fact, they've lived together for the past 3 years. You just never met Miss Jones until today. But Miss Jones knows Miss Smith's curriculum backwards and forwards. She's ate the flesh and drank the blood, right? She is one flesh, one mind. And so when she comes in then for the first time for the students, because Mrs. Jones isn't there and she writes her name on the board, Miss Smith, they think goof off day. Until she says, no, if you've seen me, you've seen Mrs. Jones. I know everything. So the curriculum will continue on as if she was here herself. And so that carries authority. And so you got guys out here with the authority is only portrayed in the badge itself, not necessarily incarnated in the mindset and that sort of thing, where they're as schooled in the principle, they embody the principles and the theory, and as much as they do the actual tactics and actions and that sort of thing. It would just seem to me that, again, you would want to make that kind of investment. And since that's not the case, obviously, So we can't throw our hands up and say, well, this problem can't be solved. No, you got to appeal to the officers themselves.
You keep working it. So like with me, whenever I come across LEOs, whether they're in class, you just run across them, whatever. Number one, I always tell them, hey, stay safe out there. Mm-hmm. Number two, if there's anything I can do, let me know.
Right.
So you try to extend. If I happen to see something on their belt, on their kit that looks weird, cattywampus, just ask a question. And 9 times out of 10, it'll start getting kind of that mind going. And that's the biggest thing with these guys is, we were fortunate enough to have kind of things drive from the bottom up. The problem is everything in the LEO world is from the top bottom.
Right.
So if you can try to get to those chiefs, which are difficult, engagements, but hey, if you have a chance, contact, boom, try to push some stuff, try to make suggestions, try to make things better. Yeah. And it's just trying to bring these guys survivability so they can get home.
I'll have LEOs come from 3 different states away.
Really?
3 states away, pay their own way, pay for the class out of pocket, buy their own ammo. And I always thank them for breaking the bonds of institutional inbreeding because a lot of them are victims of that. Yeah. Yet on the flip side, I offer free training to my local LEOs and they don't take it.
Really?
That's a fact, Jack. And if you're hearing me out there, that's right. I'm calling you out.
Yep.
Damn.
Same here.
Yep.
Now, so what do you think any idea to gauge this percentage of officers that are in your classes as opposed to just civilians?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lower, for me, it's a lower percentage. There's not a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Because again, it's usually those that are dedicated that are paying out of their own pocket. That sometimes they can get department ammo, sometimes they can't. Yeah. So, but they're few and far between.
Yeah. How about you, Matt?
It's same. I get like 10, 20 to 20% in my classes. And those guys who are doing training on their own, they're sharp, man.
Yeah.
They're good shooters. They know med. They're good communicators. They're usually physically fit. So yeah, they're sharp. Yeah, but so the guys I'm seeing are badass, but I know I'm seeing just a fraction, right. Just a small, tiny percentage of the ones who are out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick, you mentioned a few times here, K9. Now using K9 in special forces. First of all, how'd you get drawn into that aspect of it?
So it was actually interesting.
Love puppies.
Yeah. No, I just had the higher leadership, said, hey, we want you to take the K9 team over.
More a cat man.
And really, I was kind of pissed. I was like, man, I don't want to do that. I want to hang out with the boys.
Kick doors.
That's it, man. I want to hang with the boys. But unbeknownst, I'd worked with the dogs before. I mean, phenomenal what these 4-legged beasts have done on the battlefield. The number of people they've brought home, absolutely incredible. So, all right, I'll embrace it. And then once you embrace it, you're like, hey, man, I'm like this independent agent. I know all the boys. Right. I know the playbook. I know what's going on. Nobody's really telling me what to do. Right. But you kind of position yourself like, I think there might be an interception by the back door, if you know what I'm saying. Might want to walk down here.
That's right.
So, yeah. And that was the deal there. So it wasn't fully embraced to be, an honest broker to start. But really, once I got into it and figured it out and, work with my couple beasts that I had over the years, it was...
So it was a good time.
It was a good time. Yeah. And then in turn, I was able to bring Duco, which is my retired work dog. We more or less retired at the same time. So yeah, man.
He has his own Instagram.
Yes, he does. War Dog Duco. Two G's. So we try to play on the whole hog thing.
Right. Yeah, good.
Yeah. So try to play him in. But yeah, man.
I follow him and he talks.
He does talk.
Literally.
He does talk.
He communicates, comments, and
he comments.
Kind of witty.
Comments, likes, throw stuff up there.
You trained the hell out of that dog, dude.
No, he's a great dog, man. And like I said, we were very fortunate back in 2000, Congress signed a law where they were going to no longer euthanize military working dogs because it used to be the practice. They were considered equipment. Just get rid of them. Vietnam, we left over 4,000 dogs. Just left them. Done. So you look at all the pictures, pitching Hueys over the side and everything else. We'll leave our little buddies that saved God knows how many lives just, rotting over there. Oof. So that all changed in 2000 and, blessing for me because, I was able to if you want to say repatriate him, yes, he is Dutch born, but he wore
He
the
doesn't
stars
want-
and stripes, But
So if I ask him, he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, so for both of you guys, and of course, Rick, particularly for you, because in the story, in the news, the story of what happened in Syria, a dog was involved. A fur missile was involved. Break down this what you can for us.
I mean, I don't know specifically as far as how they, what the whole aspects of the operation were, but here's the bottom line: the dogs bring incredible value added to the battlefield, probably more than any other piece of equipment out there. So you've got this dog that has an incredible nose. So the nose works two ways, either to detect explosives or detect people. So as long as you're working the wind and you're getting him in a certain situation. So I give you a prime example. There was one night we were out chasing, a squirter. So somebody that bolted out from the target building, and the dog's indicating, hey man, we need to go left. Big eye in the sky is going, no way guys, go to the right. Okay, so we went right. You know what? We went wrong. The dog was right. Basically technology was wrong.
Yeah.
So at that point, that's when you sit there and go, no, man, I'm listening to the dog. And the other part is, you want to employ that dog in a way that makes sense. Here's the deal. I did not have a problem losing my dog as long as I didn't throw him away.
Right.
So I'm not going to send him into a house that we know has umpteen gazillion, fighters in there. We know they're in there. What am I getting? Nothing.
Right.
Boys are going in. Yeah, man. He's rolling in first. He's doing all that stuff because if somebody's, I hate to say it, if somebody has to die in this operation, I'd rather it be him than one of the boys.
Right.
But you're not just going to arbitrarily throw him away.
So as far as the recent story, do you?
I don't know what they're. Yeah. Dogs are. We've used dogs in the GWAT. For a lot as far as, hey, I don't know the exact how the whole operation went down.
Right.
But I'm sure at whatever point, the dog could have been an odor going, hey, he's that way, he's picking on.
Right.
I don't know.
I just know that story was big nickel. I was in Kansas, I think, when that emerged on the news, and I nearly shit myself, man. It barely got any play in the news.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, that was huge, man. It was bigger than Bin Laden, because he was basically retired. This guy was active, and he was a bad hombre.
Yeah.
Damn, man, that was huge. That was a huge story.
So for you guys both, obviously thrilled to hear of the victory, but also don't necessarily want to hear of the victory. You don't want these things necessarily publicized as much as, because I saw people bantering and arguing, and because of the conflicting nature of the stories, the press had got things completely discombobulated and wrong terminology and all this kind of stuff. So, then the conspiratorial element comes in and people say, okay, they're not telling us the truth and whatever. Instead of just saying, no, the press got it all messed up because they're all in a rush to,
get a story
and what have you. But you can't get around the fact that what keeps emerging out of this is this dog. I think I think Trump even posted the Medal of Honor thing.
Yeah,
his neck,
that was a Photoshop thing. It was all in humor.
Right. But I mean, just
which the press read wrong. They said, Trump Photoshopped this shit.
Well, I mean,
It's so freaking stupid.
Here's the deal. A simple statement. Boom. So-and-so's dead. Yep. Okay. Move on. And then it just cuts all this other stuff out. Right. Now, what I will say is, from a handler standpoint, dogs have been doing incredible things. And I'm not saying what that dog out there wasn't incredible, but I'm telling you this, the lives those dogs have saved. All the dogs that are down at the SOF Can-Am Memorial that have been killed. You can't count how many brothers, sons, fathers are home because of those dogs. So
there is an actual memorial for them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So go down to the Airborne Special Operations Museum, and there's a replica of a Belgian Malinois down there, and you'll see the pavers. And each one of those pavers, that's a dog that didn't come home.
Wow.
So.
That's got. I mean, did you have a little moment of pride? Just look at that. That's all right.
Anytime. I'm going to tell you this. So, again, when I became a handler and actually working that dog, anytime a dog's involved, I don't care if it's with my LEOs. Well, especially on that one, you're like, oh yeah, look at that. But anytime the dog's involved, yeah, man, of course it gives you, a bump, because those guys, they're looked at as just, hey man, our four-legged friends. Well, that's cool in my mind, because you got to think, in Duco's case, he's still a veteran. Mm-hmm. He had the same, if you want to say medevac priority as me. So if he got wounded, we're calling in a bird for him. We're going to exfil him out. U.S. surgeon's going to work on him, at the cache. So yeah, I mean, he is a U.S. service member. He was on our tally board, the Mako for going out. I mean, he was
Happy Veterans Day, Duco.
Yeah, but he was accounted for, and that's what people don't get. It's just not arbitrarily, hey, you've got some dog that's rolling with you. No, man, he is part of the package,
part of the team.
So, yeah,
just another teammate.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, as far as teammates go, a lot of things. You've got kind of pro and I'll just say anti-dog guys. I think you're anti if the dogs bit you.
Right.
Would probably be my guess. Dog saved your life. You're probably pro.
Right.
For me as a handler, probably one of the high points is, I always try to incorporate the dog with the guys. So everyone kind of knew who he was. Well, I ended up losing the dog one night out on target. Sitting there, launched him in. He's running through the house, doing his business, flowing through. And I just lost him. No big deal. Try to recall him. So I look at his monitor and I see him with the set of multicam, pants next to him. I was like, who's got the dog? Hey, we do. And we're moving over here. Cool, man. So they had instilled, we want the dog so much, we're taking him and he's rolling with us.
Oh, wow.
Granted, would they really know how to get him in there and do his business? But that's the whole point. It's the sense of, hey, man, this guy runs into these buildings fearlessly. They don't understand fear. Right. They understand I'm looking for whatever my reward is.
All they know is work.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's
cool.
It's phenomenal. And that's the, so it was good. I guess a good aspect to see the dog, kind of come out. Wasn't super happy with all the, media that came out. But I mean, these canines have done phenomenal things, and hopefully it'll get people to actually take a look and go, wow, man, dogs of war. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're out there.
So, so just because I know the questions on everybody's mind is, okay, what's it like, when you're not working and you've got, because I mean, everybody's a dog person, man, right? And you got a bunch of dudes, who got downtime, and you got a dog walking through.
Well, you got to look at where you at. So it's two things. Overseas, he's a morale booster because it brings a sense of home back to the equation. They'll spoil that motherfucker, man. Belly scratches. I had guys getting peanut butter from back home and like dog biscuits and chumming my dog when I wasn't looking, man.
Oh, chumming him.
Yeah. I was like, hey, man, you gotta fatten him up, Right. He's game ready. No, but I think people enjoy the dog, and it brings a sense of normalcy back into it.
No, so the dog's got to love that too, because he knows everywhere he goes, he's getting petted.
Oh yeah,
he's getting free shit.
Yep.
And most of those Maligators, they don't give a shit about pets. Most of them, all they know is work.
Yeah.
But it's cool when one established, because they pick you, know. And so it's cool when one picks you and says, yeah, this guy's a dog guy. I'll hang out with him. I'll blade off, When they blade off in front of you and let you pet them and rough them up. Yeah,
Did you call it a Maligator?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know guys in town who have them. And I will never reach out over the dog to shake their hand. Mm-hmm. I'm always going to let that dude put his hand out first.
Yeah.
They're on high alert, man. Dude, and when I say all they know is work, when those little birds crank up, the handlers putting their kid on them, man, they are just shaking and quaking, and you could see the level of intensity. You could feel it, just oozing out of them. They are like, oh, please put me on that bird, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You're like, you know what? He's tier 1.
Oh, dude.
We're not even tier 1.
No.
That guy's tier 1.
Yeah, he's tier infinity or something.
He's all in.
Yeah.
We can question. He can't question.
Right.
But, Mac, you bring up a great point. I mean, this is how much these dogs are in tuned. So when you get a rotor pitch change, because typically, it'll be at a constant rate, and then it'll change the pitch if they're coming into land.
Right.
So here's little buddy just along for a ride. Yep. All right. We there yet? And when that rotor pitch hits, man, you see him just all of a sudden stick that chest out, bow out. And it's like, let's go do this. And you're like, hey, buddy, we're not there yet.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, it's
so cool.
I teach a series in my courses on being resolved, and the example that I give is dogs. But I was using my little, looks just like Gretchen, little terrier, because it's the reason why I use it is because that terrier, if he saw something, a kid, a squirrel, or whatever, he would literally choke himself to death to get at that.
Yep.
Not just to tear it up, but just to say hi.
Yeah.
But in other words, there's the concept of being resolved means there is no second guessing. You have completely eliminated any possibility of second guessing. So it's full on, the jaws are down. You're just eating from this point on, or killing from this point on. You got to like lust. Well, I wish I had that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's impressive to see, without a doubt. Yeah.
Now what about then seeing the bad guys?
They hate the dogs. Yeah, they do not like, granted, you'll see their dogs, both in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right.
I mean, they have dogs, but man, they know the words out in the street, so the alligators. Yep. Although I had a Dutchie, but doesn't matter.
Right.
Same concept.
Right.
Or we can dub them a fur missile, that one works as well. But the words in the street, they know, they hate those dogs.
Did you ever use them like an officer would? Guys running, go catch him.
I never did. No, not on a full.
Because you're like, well, I'll just shoot.
I mean, typically they're not. If they have bolted, it's because typically when the helos are coming in, they hear and they're already going out.
Right.
So now they're out in the wood line somewhere, hunkered down. Now it turns into, in my opinion, probably the deadliest thing we do is going out hunting squirters, because again, they're out there. They've got the train. Now you're trying to go out there and get
squirters?
Squirters.
Yeah.
What is that?
Guys that run for target. Yeah. Or you can call them runners. Bad perps.
How does squirter?
I don't know the order.
You squirt out of a just.
Oh, so they squirt. Okay, I got you.
Out of a building, out of a vehicle,
okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
I had to get my head around that squirters. Oh my God, that's kind of like porn or something, right?
Yeah.
So you've got these guys who go out. Now, how is a dog going to find somebody they haven't smelled or?
They know the smell. Yeah, because because you have to understand.
It's like curry. I'm going for the curry.
Yeah, that's in essence of what it is.
The goat.
So the curry's sitting out there. All right, they know what the curry smells like. What I have to do, my job is to get him downwind of that odor. So I want the wind or the curry blowing in his nose. So now he can pick it up and boom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so there's some finesse that has to go on. So it's just not, hey, he's out there. Me as the handler. So like I would talk to the air crew prior to going, hey man, what are the winds coming out of? And finally they figured out, they would just tell me. Right. It's like, why do you care? Because it's important for me. Because if I've got to go after somebody, I need to know where the winds are. Granted, I'll make a call on the ground, but you want to get him downwind of that odor. So he's got the max chance because he'll run a certain pattern. And if he cuts that odor, you'll see a certain change of behavior. And yeah, buddy.
Okay, so if you set him loose, he's off the leash at that point?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So he's never off the leash so far. This was just me from my personal, whenever I lost eyesight, pause, let's grab that piece of train because pretty much he's clear to get up to him and recast him out there.
Now you've got him electronically GPSed or something?
No.
Okay.
So it's off of visual.
Okay.
So usually, obviously we're hunting at night, so he's got some type of IR source on him so that I can see where he's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they obviously do a good job of catching the squirters.
Oh yeah.
So what are the condition of the squirters by the time? Because obviously by the time you get
scared shitless, bro.
I mean, he's got to keep the target
screaming bloody murder.
He's got to keep them neutralized and staying put.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
really it depends on that individual and how much, if you want to say fight, they put up. So typically the more fight or the more
he's going to go harder.
He's harder. Yeah. And that's the thing. So it's like they bite hard as it is, but there's something about when you start putting pressure on them, dude, they bring it that much more.
And they're moving the head.
Oh yeah.
There, so
they're thrashing around. Yeah.
Yeah. Chinese finger trap.
Oh yeah, dude.
Hence the alligator.
Oh yeah.
That's almost shark-like.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, that's, I mean, that is a fast, and I can obviously, especially getting into the sense of smell, how they could save as many lives as they do. I read some report one time I could not cite, but it's just going through all of the senses of a dog and the level of smell as compared to a human smell. And it was, I mean, I knew they were better.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea they're aliens.
So put it in this way, right? You smell, if there's a cheeseburger sitting there, you smell the cheeseburger. Can you tell there's onions on it?
No.
Can you tell there's lettuce,
No.
ketchup, mayonnaise?
Mm-mm.
You know, that's how in depth their nose is. They can pick out, boom, this is particulate.
They
X.
could probably smell even, could they smell the scent of the person who gave the hamburger?
I guess in essence they could at some point.
Well, I mean, that they're able to detect.
Or maybe they just sit there and eat the hamburger and it's all gone. So.
Well,
The
I've seen
scent is
them,
too faint. I'm going for a snack.
I've seen my dogs, that they can smell something like that's under the ground.
Yeah.
And they'll freak out and they're digging because, I mean, and of course,
especially your terriers out there digging holes all in the yard.
That's all they do,
Yeah.
man. Mole killers, moligators.
Yeah.
But it's really a amazing animal. It's such a basic. I was watching something the other day and just it was something Randall or his wife had posted. It was their son was pulling the horse.
Oh yeah.
Pulling the horse along. And you're thinking, okay, this horse could stomp, a grown man, let alone this
little kid.
And so he's, just leading the horse, all this, so things like horses, dogs, you think of how long historically they've been a part of this being in service to man. I mean, this is an ancient relationship, an ancient tradition, still outperforming
Modern day technology.
Yeah.
There's still no sensors that are close to the dog's nose. So we can't, as humans, replicate that dog's nose.
And they're not battery operated.
No. just a little bit of kibble.
That's right. Motivated by kibble.
Now, so your dog is acclimated back into homestead life, or has he still got that work?
He's pretty good. He's been obviously retired for about 2.5 years. So we're not doing the same work like we did before.
And does he like to do things active? I mean, get out there.
Oh yeah. We're always throwing the ball because he's got incredible ball drive.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And he knows kind of the ritual. All right, you're going there. Yep. They're very smart. So he knows, hey, the balls are over there. Yep. Dad's going to get it. Mm-hmm. Or if he's going towards that direction, he's like, is today the day? Yeah, of course it is, buddy. Let's go. So yeah, they're super smart and they super pick stuff up.
I don't get. I could think it. All right, I'm going to take Grace for a walk. I could think it, and she'll. Oh my God.
Yeah. Because you said the word.
that
You
thought.
said the word, Mac.
I didn't say it. I said it in my head.
Oh, it trickles out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
They can smell thoughts, bro. They can smell
And I try to
thoughts.
throw off my demeanor. Like she could tell by the way I'm putting on my socks. Oh, this means walk.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This is how Dad puts his socks on right before he walks me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's
But I'm not doing anything different, man. I swear to God. And I analyze the hell out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point because I remember, of course, I used to watch back when I watched television, the Caesar's, what's his name? Caesar Milan.
Oh, yeah, right.
The dog whisperer.
Dog whisperer.
Yeah.
So interesting. So he would talk about how the dog feels vibration and all this sort of stuff. So anyway, I read this article then by Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote the book The Outliers, and all that stuff. Well, he was talking about some experts and research, and they were saying, no, Caesar's a little hocus pocus. He said he says, and I actually proved this aspect of it with my dogs because especially I had a Dixie Dingo, it's actually bred in the wild, and so literally looks like a dingo. But you could do certain things with him, and he would trip, and you're like, what is it that's throwing him off? Because it's not getting any kind of, indication through a leash, vibration, or whatever. They were talking about how what dogs are so precise, they can tell the difference of the dilation of the eye. So it gets bigger, they can see that. So that explained to me why, like my dog, if I come in the house and the dingo's over there just laying down, he's going to look up at me like everything's cool. But if I just kind of go, lean in and kind of fix my eyes, he starts going, you know what I mean? He's not sensing energies. He knows what dad's eyes normally are like. So it wouldn't be beyond the pale for them to go, well, no, I can tell. When he starts doing this, or like like you said, when the helos makes that different sound, he knows, you know.
Yeah, because they've done it umpteen gazillion times.
Yeah, and but their hearing and their smell and their visual acuteness, what they're looking at is stuff we never would even think to. I would never think of it. I mean, unless somebody, you're pulling over somebody and they've been doing acid, then you're looking at the pupils. You know what I mean? I see no color; it's just pure dilation. Then, but they've got it at such a, you know, almost microscopic level that they're seeing things. Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah.
All right. So enough of the dog attitude. Let's get back to you guys. Your attitude. We were talking offline, Rick and I, and Rick, you sounded just like Mac.
Shocking.
Having had so many conversations with this dude, you said something very similar, which is, you know, Mac will always say, hey, in my mind, you know, I can beat anybody at anything. It may not be true, right? But in my mind, and so you guys are almost kind of selected based on the fact that that's your basic wiring. You have a similar sort of wiring.
Similar, yeah. You know, so it would be the same question. So typically I don't go with what can I do first. Typically I, you know, when I'm talking to people or trying to help them with their mindset, and I got to think of a better word for that one. So if we I don't like the mindset, but like if I were to ask Mac this question, or even you, who's the best person in the room? There's only one right answer.
Right.
Mac?
Yeah. No.
You know? So the problem is people can't identify it's them.
Right.
You know, and it should be a go-to. And it's not an arrogance. It's just a self-confidence.
Right.
And that's the part that people need to understand. Now, you know, on Mac's, you know, part is he can't, you know, there's nothing he can't do. I'm the same way. I just go, there's nothing I can't do. I'm an honest broker, and I dub it with, I may not be the best.
Right.
But then I always finish up with, there's nothing I can't do.
Right.
So you think, you know, for all the listeners out there that have problems, issues, dramas, whatever, if you walk into a room and you just start by going, I'm the best person in the room, just say it to yourself. And then you follow up with, there's nothing I can't do. I may not be the best, but there's nothing I can't do. Dude, you've got a positive, you know, self-image of yourself, which is first and foremost the thing you need in life. So it's just trying to get that.
Was that always the case with you? Is that how you were growing up? Or
yeah, you know, I don't ever remember a time that and again, I think it goes back to that wrestling. If I got to go back in my time,
dude, man, I can parallel that with you.
You know, there's something about that wrestling experience that you go back there every single day, embracing the suck. And like I said, Coach had it where we just did PT for at least the first 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't know how yours was, Matt.
Yeah, man.
But he just conditioned us, you know, and you would see it. Guys would drop, guys would drop, guys would drop. But it was like, I got to come back every day and go, man, I'm going to get my head smashed again. All right. All right. Sounds like a good plan. Let's do this. Yeah. But I think that, you know, inadvertently looking back, that was a huge factor that gets that. And then again, it's just that self-confidence. You know, there never was a time to go, oh, I'm not with the cool kids. I'm not in this group. I'm not in that. Right. Dude, I'm me. I'm Rick. And you know what? I'm the best guy out here. And I know Mac will go, hey, he's the best guy. You're going to say you're the best guy. Well, I'm the best guy. We can all argue who's the best. But the point being is that mindset, you don't have to be part of a clique. You don't have to be part of nothing.
Right.
It's about you.
Right.
And then being an honest broker. And I think for us, kind of generationally, we didn't have the internet and all this other stuff. We had to learn stuff the hard way.
Yeah.
Ooh, go to the card catalog. What's that?
Right.
Google that, kids.
Right.
Phone book.
Yeah.
Dewey Decimal System.
Payphone, you know, but all that stuff. So I think for us, you know, there wasn't things, we had to more or less entertain ourselves. So the creativity was more. And I think that all in turn kind of shaped, you know, us into the kind of the people we are.
So there was a bit of a watershed moment with you in terms of the wrestling experience. And as Max said, he can echo the very same thing because he's told that story. That was kind of your transition, transformation moment, right?
That was during my metamorphosis because I didn't ooze confidence when I was in my early mid-teens. There was a pivotal moment, you know, where I had a window of opportunity. Basically, getting ready for a bully's return, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I started wrestling too.
Right.
And it was, man, my coach was just freaking badass. Everybody loved him. But man, talking about, you know, embracing the suck. This is a season that went on for pretty long. And you even have preseason because you needed to get in shape for getting in shape.
Yeah.
And, man, like I can remember all of those. Our coach would find the warmest classroom, for instance, that was closest to the gym and turn the heat up in it.
Oh, wow.
You know, and then so this is an hour prior to training, and we would just do calisthenics in that one classroom, push all the desks aside, and do freaking PT and just a pre-smoke before we got on the mats, and then run in the hallway sprints up and down, up and down, up and down. Yeah, that really changed my whole my level of confidence, because my first 2 years I sucked. And then all of a sudden, boom, everything started clicking. And my second 2 years, I couldn't be beaten.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that rush of confidence, not cockiness.
Right.
Because, you know, cockiness will get you your ass fucking whooped in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. But that confidence of I cannot be beaten. You know, what's in front of me will not defeat me.
Right.
Really resonated with that, with the wrestling thing. Because even though it's a team sport, you have to perform on an individual level. You know, every individual is a part of that team because you want to, you know, an ultimate score for the team, but you have to, and you know, you're in the spotlight. Everybody's watching you. Mm-hmm. So if you mess up, everybody's going to see it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you don't, if you fail and don't fail quickly, you know, if you fail miserably, everybody's going to see that.
Yeah.
But even if you fail strong, you know, it's still a victory,
right?
You know, because you everybody knows how much or how little you put into that 6-minute event.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows.
It seems, I guess,
including yourself. So,
well, everything else in high school sports is pretty much team based. Mm-hmm. So this is an individual thing.
Totally.
Right. Yeah, you're on a team,
but you're contending individually,
right?
Yeah, not tag teaming and shit.
Yep.
Yeah, so that makes sense. That, you know, and it's such a, and it's there isn't, you don't have a tool, you don't have a club, you don't have a bat, you don't have a racket.
Right.
It is completely you, and you are about as clamped up against another human being as could possibly be. So there's that rawness that I think, it's going to have some sort of positive traumatic, you know, forging on your mentality, because again, you have a situation like with Mac where he says, man, I wasn't really like that until I went through this season of my life, which it's relevant, I think, to me, because I'm going through this with my youngest, who is an extremely studious person. I mean, very self-governing, but which I love, but there's a dark side to that because you take things so seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she's female. So my boys, you know, they're boys, right? They have a little bit, it's a different wiring. You know, they don't trip as much. She takes it really, really seriously. And so I can see physically the net effect of stress on her. But I mean, you know, grades off the charts, I couldn't ask for anything more as far as that goes, but I can see the net effect physically of the stress. So she'll be finishing her bachelor come spring. And she could fully do graduate and PhD work if she wanted to, but she's been through a lot. And so I told her, because of course, other extended family members, is she going to be okay? You sure? You know, want to make sure I'm making the right decisions. Man, fuck you. I'm making the right decision. Yeah. I know I'm making the right decision. So everybody keeps questioning it. And so I told her, because, you know, you could see it's, you know, the pressure's been on her. And I told her, I said, you know what you need, sweetheart? I said, you need a sabbatical and you need a year. You know, let's not talk about, because she doesn't know where she wants. I said, well, let's take that off the table. Let's remove that burden. You need time for your adrenals to heal, which means the hormones will calm down. Things will level out. That'll affect the gut health. You'd be amazed at what happens. And so I was just talking to my mother even on the way up here, and I was telling her about that. And she's like, well, how can you be so confident? I said, I'll tell you why. The confirmation for me was just happened on Halloween, because she's in the middle of all her schoolwork. And she says to me the day before, I want to carve a pumpkin. Would you go get me one? Now, my oldest had tried to get him to all carve pumpkins earlier in the month, and they helped gut them, but nobody wanted to carve any that early, and so those things got rotten. We still had one still up by the front door that hadn't been touched. So she was like, Dad, would you go to the store and get one? I'm like, it's the day before Halloween, and you want to carve a pumpkin? She goes, yeah. So I kind of contended with her about it, and I said, well, we still got one by the front door. She goes, I don't know, is it going to be rotten? I said, no, it's fine. I think it's fine. She goes, okay. So I didn't think anything of it. Next day, she's got tons of schoolwork to do. So she's down at the table early afternoon working on this pumpkin. And so by the time I got down there, she's gutted it. Mm-hmm. And so I go to look at it, and you can see the shreds of the debris on the side of the wall, just a few little seeds. I said, well, shoot, once you get those seeds out, you're done. And she goes, no. I said, you could put a candle in there. It's no big deal. I'm thinking, well, all you got to do is carve out whatever face or thing you want to put on it. And she goes, no. And so I come back around dinner time, and I looked inside that pumpkin. You could move a family in there, dude. It was, dude, I'm talking clean. You could pour water and drink out of it. I was like, holy crap. And she carved Italy on the damn thing. Wow. I said, why Italy? She goes, well, she goes into the story, just something that she's been thinking about, whatever. I'm thinking, what? That's her.
Right.
She puts Italy on this thing. We're not Italian, just. So I got a candle and put it out there, whatever. But then she got in costume, and we have nobody coming down our street. Nobody. So she gets in costume. Nobody's going to see her. She wants to take pictures. She dressed like 80s. So she had armbands on, a Kiss t-shirt, and all this kind of stuff. She takes pictures, and then she goes right back to her laptop and says, okay, I got to make up for lost time. And she does that. And I said, and that, but I can't tell you how that thrilled my soul. And I said to my mom, I said, that's my confirmation. And she says, why? I said, because she cleaned the hell out of that pumpkin. You know what I mean? She cleaned the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. She knew her desired outcome. So in other words, she knew she was stacking up the work. So apparently stress didn't matter to her at that point. Yeah. Okay. So in other words, she had a desired outcome. She had a passion. She wanted things to be made exactly the way she wanted. I said, I'm not dealing with a lazy person. Mm-hmm. I'm not dealing with a person who's not determined and not focused. So all I need to do, I said, that confirmed it. I need the Sabbath year so that I can clear all the clutter that's accumulated off her little young life, because that natural wiring, she is like me. Mm-hmm. Because my other son is that way too. Joe, you met. Joe, very quiet. But Joe's damn good at what he does. Mm-hmm. And Joe, when Joe graduated from high school, he had a 4.0. Damn. Joe did. So I'm thinking, okay, well, dude, I'm ready to throw all the money in the world to send you to film school. Because he's known what he's wanted to do since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. I remember when he was 6 or 7, about 8 years old, he would always be filming stuff. And so some friends came over, and he was showing them the movie that he just did, shot with a little friend. He had 8 years old. And so my friend's wife goes, Joe, is this your dream to make movies? He looked her straight in the eye and said, I'm not dreaming. That's my plan. I remember looking at his mama going, man, you can't coach that. Right. I'm getting that tattooed. Yeah. So I have a whole series called It's Your Plans, Not Your Dreams That Come True. Yeah. And that's all from little Joe saying that. So he would come home from school again, and he would go right to his little room, and he would sit on the couch that he's got in there, love seat, and he would do all of his homework, get it all done immediately, go get his snacks, and then he would play video games and watch movies and his favorite shows over and over and over and over again, to where he could recite everything. So to a normal parent, you're like, well, okay, well, he's watching too much, whatever. But I knew that's what he loved, right? So I knew for him that he's been in film school his whole life, technically. And because he was delivering 4.0, who am I to say what he does in his free time? You know what I mean? And I never had to spank that kid. Always respectful. And so when when it came time for him to pick a school, I said, well, what do you want to do? I said, they have a good film school here, UT at Arlington, UT in Austin and whatever. And he said, I don't want to go to film school. I don't want to go. I said, why? He said, Dad, he remembered something that I had said from going to art school. He said, Dad, if somebody's full-time teaching film, it's because they don't film.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The real people they're doing it. So they're not in school. And I don't want to take, 3 semesters of Italian film history. You know what I mean? He goes, so let's buy gear. I'm ready to make stuff. So, of course, he's talking to an entrepreneur. I'm like, that's all you had to say.
Yeah.
But, of course, now the family backlash came in.
Right.
Well, you got to follow the pattern.
No.
You know what I mean? I said, no, he doesn't. I said, he's welcome to stay here as long as he's working on his dream.
Mm-hmm.
All I tell my kids is just this. I said, I don't care what it costs, and I don't care what you have to do. I'm behind you 1,000%. I'll give my last dime. I'll steal if I have to fund your dream. The only thing I ask, give it 100% and don't quit.
Yeah.
Because the world's going to fight you. Life is going to resist you at every point. Don't quit no matter what. If this is your calling in life, then give it full on. And so, but I knew it took Joe through most of his 20s to get to the place to where now he's starting. You see the manifestation of the accumulated relationships, the network capital, and all that kind of stuff. To where, again, we brought him out here a couple of weeks ago to shoot some stuff for Mac, and shoot,
that product was rock and roll, bro.
he kicked ass, and
we didn't spend that much time filming because we worked well together, and then his finished product was only a couple days. I was like, damn, bro, I was expecting a week and a half or something like that.
Yeah,
and it was good. Well, people will see it here shortly.
They'll see it here soon. And of course, Mac knows he's worked in front of the camera, so he's working with Mac. You're dealing with a pro. So, but I was in there, and I said, Joe, what do you want us to do? So all I did was hold the boom mic,
sound man
for him. You know what I mean? They weren't even doing that great a job at it in some way, but but Joe just he knows what he needs to do because he's seen a million ways to shoot different things. So he's already orchestrating things in his mind. So these are all natural giftings and passions. And so a lot of times when you're working with that, you need to stay the hell out of the way and create the environment conducive for that, and not introducing, okay, you got to go to kindergarten when you're 5, graduate when you're 18, go to college, get the gold watch. Everybody's following the same pattern. So we teach our kids Bible, which is, it says in the 6th commandment, 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. So I said the word retire is not in there. So we don't talk retire. We will work on our passions and our gifts and serve the greater purpose to make the world a better place using our talents and abilities. And so that's the way they're wired. But, that's my little trailer park aristocracy. That's how we are going to do this over multiple generations. But it's tough, man. It just seems like it's a simple concept, but it's a very hard thing to communicate to people. And so they tend to be overbearing to the kids.
Because that's not society. I hate to say it, but the work ethic, the drive isn't there. And this is just my 2 cents. I think it goes back to pulling shop class out of high school.
Yeah.
And when you sit there and go, hey, everyone's a winner. No, man. Because when you get that L column, dude, wrestling, man, if I lost, that means I work harder.
Yeah. I lost the first 2 years, bro.
It's like
over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
My first year wrestling, I didn't win a single match. The second year, I think I won one.
Wow.
Then I freaking went, like Rick was saying, because work ethic, I went to the local college during the summer and wrestled with the college guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Skill level went up.
Oh, dude.
Big time.
Dude.
But
so did my weight class.
Which has its pros and cons,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I think that's the thing, so you're doing all the right thing, but society, what is this? So it's skewed because we'll look at no winners and losers, yet we care about how many people follow us on whatever social platform.
Right.
It doesn't seem right to me.
No.
No.
Yeah, it's horrible trying to instill that because it's generationally driven, where kids nowadays, these Generation Zers, have never been bored. They've always had some kind of electronics or computer or TV or
Stimulus,
something. At
passive
their
stimulus.
Yeah, passive stimulus. They've always had. They've never been bored. There's real danger to not being bored. To going outside and wondering, I wonder if I get that lawnmower going that's just been sitting here and grass is growing around it type of thing. If I get it, and then you get it going, you think, this thing is going now. I sharpen the blade. I change the floats in the carburetor. I'm going to go mow somebody's lawn. And then you make that $10 and you go, holy shit, man.
Or you build a mini bike.
Yeah.
Steal the engine, build a mini bike.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's exactly right. And, we mentioned offline, I'm glad, Rick, you said we should probably get into the conversation to talk about it. But I just taught in my coaching group about the name of the series this week, in fact, is called Stay Productive. Mm-hmm. And the concept is just that we are producers by nature.
Totally.
But we're raised in a culture that is consumer based. So it's like we're supposed to be producers. That's where life is gratifying, not consumption, not in the gathering of things. And because we're so status driven, we talk more about rights than we do duty, not realizing that liberty requires responsibility. Yeah. So we're almost in an upside down world.
Yeah. And you look at too, I mean, I know, I always try to tell guys that are getting ready to get out of the military, start your own business, be your own boss, because you've got the skills as far as the personal skills. You may not have the book knowledge or the business, hey, how to set up a website, how to get your business established, whatever, finding your CPA, all these things, the admin that me and Mac always talk about, but they've got the skills because they've had to work with people, figure out problems, leadership roles. Why go, and I hate to say it, work for the man. Yeah. I am the man. Right. Mac's the man. You're the man. Go do your own thing. And like you're saying, find that passion.
Right.
And people always go, well, you just jumped into the firearms industry because you were in the Army 29 years. No. The thing that drove me here was when I was working the Special Forces Advanced Urban Combat Committee, and those guys came back from Afghanistan in 2002 because we'd been training pre-war, prior 9/11. We didn't know we were training these guys for combat. That first crew from 7th Group comes back and says, hey, man, that stuff you taught me saved my life. Wow. Dude, that was the hook. It's like, I'm going to do this when I get out because there's no better affirmation.
Right.
And I wish this on none of the students out there ever have to come back and tell me that, because I've already had students tell me that. But when a skill set that you taught them saved their life, and they in turn tell you that, dude, there's nothing better, in the world.
It's super powerful.
Yeah, we talked about this also offline is that, when people hear the amount of time that I'll work, and just because of the season that I'm in now, I can be upwards of 90 to 100 hours sometimes. But people will say, you're a workaholic. And I'll say, well, I'm not addicted to work. I said, you have to understand what I do is extremely gratifying because you get that visible reward, whether it's somebody saying thank you or you made something that you can see that helps the life of somebody else or entertains somebody or encourages somebody or whatever. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm not doing this working as a senior executive assistant vice president of an oil company. You know what I mean? That I would be like, as soon as the clock time is out, I'm out. Yeah. So I can go do my hobby or something like that. No, it's because I'm, like we're entrepreneurs. We all work for ourselves. So obviously there's a tremendous amount of passion. Plus you also know it's all on you.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, it is, but I'm going to caveat this, so like Mac has been a super help. So I was very hesitant to reach out, and you did that podcast a while back with Josh, and you made a slight comment, and that's the whole thing that people miss sometimes. It's a slight comment. And it was the part of getting out and
being disconnected
from people. And it just, those words, boom, resonated with me. I was like, man, let me call Mac, because it wasn't like we didn't have, a friendship, relationship, whatever. But I was like, man, he's in the same space that I am. How's he going to be? Right. Not knowing. But he said that. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. I said, let me reach out, because I mean, obviously Mac had been out longer than I had, but let me reach out, kind of reestablish those bonds that we once had, years ago, and then go, all right, hey man, what's going on? How you doing? And that's how this whole thing kind of opened up. And then of course, Mac being Mac, hey man, what can I do to help?
Right.
And the beauty is, here you have 2 firearms instructors, and Mac, I'm going to steal your words.
Yeah, right.
There's enough work for everybody.
Yeah, man.
Not once was it, hey man, let me stab you in the back. Hey man, let me lie to you. Hey dude, you want the Rolodex? Here you go. What do you need? What can I do to help? And then in turn, it's reciprocated. Hey, man, what can I do for you?
Yep.
And that's what we do. And I think that's the beauty with the, also with the veteran community, especially from the SF side.
Right.
You see that bond, brotherhood, for lack of better terms. What can you do to help?
Yeah.
Because again, you've got 3 entrepreneurs sitting here is way more powerful than just one.
Sure.
So how do you harness together and make things happen? So,
yeah, it's been an eye-opening experience. Obviously we talk about the Special Forces community, and I didn't realize just how prolific, it really is until I started to come down here on a regular basis and spend time with him outside of the home recording. We're at the bar and they see that guy, we'll see that guy, see that guy. We're walking in we're sitting out there and this guy walks up, starts talking to Mac as he's walking in, and well-dressed, and he's got an English accent. Mac, as I ask, it's like, well, what is he doing? Well, he's probably just doing some kind of exchange. Okay, it's just like these guys are just wandering around, guys like yourself just wandering around. And that's a very interesting thing because, obviously being here, you're close to Fort Bragg, so you're going to obviously see that. Yeah. But now you get it, you're taken into the online space where this has been the longest war of this country. And so in 15 years, guys can have their entire careers.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so you got all this flood of special ops guys, not just your regular Army type of thing, but you got a flood of these very elite, guys and gals flooding now into the marketplace. Well, they got to find stuff to do because they're not upwards in years. They still got plenty of time, and they've had a lot of training invested in them. But I'm also surprised though that the amount of people that I see that are still, because I hear from them, I wouldn't know unless they wrote in and tell me some of them are still struggling, Rick. They don't know what to do. They feel displaced.
Well, in a lot of that's why I talked about that on that podcast, is because there's a disconnect. You lose that sense of, team and purpose and meaning. You lose that sense of meaning. So it's important, and it's been kind of a mission of mine to, reach out to guys and say, hey, even guys right now, I saw a couple guys recently who are fixing to get out. And I said, hey, I've been out here for a while. Hit me up if you have any questions, because I know the ropes.
Right.
Because I started working for a corporation, and when I retired, and I got laid off. It's like, holy crap, what is that? What does this even mean?
Right.
So I called around to people who were working on their own, just for advice, mentorship, and all the 3 guys I reached out to all basically gave me permission to do something on my own. They said, I will help you out if you need it, but do it on your own, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap. And it's scary, and it's still scary. When you have to be very comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
And you're always on the bubble.
True.
And there's no downtime.
No.
But it's very rewarding at the same time. You're working your ass off more, but it's extremely rewarding on the back end.
Yeah, because you are doing it for yourself, and there's a tremendous amount of gratification. Now, Rick, when you retired, did you go into a corporate thing, or you just?
No, I already had plans. So I knew War Hogg, was what I was going into. However, War Hogg wasn't the original name of my business. So I've actually had my business since 98.
Okay.
But I had somebody tell me, and again, I'm big on being a scholar of history, because if you understand history, you may not make some of the same mistakes.
Sure.
But he's like, hey man, where's your name? And I'm like, excuse me? He's like, where's your name in your business? So what's wrong with my name I got now? Sucks. I'm like, thanks, buddy. But it resonated. He goes, think about this. Why is Colt Colt? Why is Glock Glock?
Right.
You start going down, Sears, all these different companies, they're named after, whoever owned it.
Right.
I was like, cool. All right. Hog. Great. Wow. I just got dealt, and then we started thinking, A10 War Hogg.
Yep.
Not going to be a wart, people.
Right.
No.
War Hogg. Because again, trying to, when you look at the logo, you sit there and go war. All right. So that's my combat experience bringing to the, to the table, because we're speaking from experience, not some theory.
Right.
And then, of course you gotta have the boar's head and, green eyes, and yeah, man, the rest is history. Because my original logo designer, he's like, we want red eyes. No, we don't. Got to be green.
Yeah.
Got to be green.
Yep.
You know. So yeah.
Now, as you moved your way up into different branches of special forces, did you yourself, how did you handle these, being thrown into communities where it's like, even more responsibility is being handed to you, and you've got to meet the challenge of and the performance level of everybody else around you? Did you, going back to your mindset about, being the best in the room kind of thing, how, when we're not wrestling anymore, now we're dealing with these hot rods, in the special forces, how did that, was it just a rude awakening? Or
I don't say it was a rude awakening, because again, you kind of, as you're growing up in the Army, you're getting kind of in-docked to certain things, so you start airborne infantry, right?
Boiling the hog and waters,
down to 82nd. Your heart is woodpecker lips, I mean, so you start getting that, hey man, I'm around people, they're starting to go, yep, do whatever. We jump out of planes. Who does that?
Right.
Crazy people. But then when you start going, SF wise, those teams do a very good job, the way they're set up. Hey, you come in as a junior weapons guy, right? So you got your senior kind of mentoring, you start picking up, and it's all experience. And then as you start moving through the ranks, it's no different. So, you transition from there somewhere else, you've got more responsibility, more whatever. You just start, going from it. If you can find people, if you're smart, you reach out to those people that can help you, that can mentor you. If you've got questions, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, you've got some, drive and ideas on your own. But hey, Mac, what do you think about this? Hey, CJ, what do you think about this? There's nothing wrong with bouncing stuff off of your peers if, that's what you need. But then again, there's times that, hey, you're the guy on the ground, boom, execute, make the call, and do business. So
were you ever concerned that the hatchet might fall? The axe might fall?
You're concerned every day. I mean, honestly.
I love that though.
No, you're sitting there, but I think that's the beauty of it, right? So if you're sitting there walking the razor's edge, for lack of better terms, it keeps you straight. I've got to sit there. I just need to be 1% better every day. 1%, 1%, 1%. Incremental, just like you say on the range back, incremental improvement. How do I make my house better a little bit each day, each day? So then that was cool when you're just an assaulter. Now you get that four-legged beast. I got to work him plus my own.
Right.
So I just incurred double the work. So how can I be smart? So, hey, I need to do PT. I need to go out and run. All right, buddy, we're running together. Here we go. So you got to, look at time management and all that other stuff. So, but yeah, you always keep striving. How can I be better? How can I talk to somebody? What shooting instructor can we get in? How can you always improve? And you're never happy with status quo.
Right.
Even if you sit there and, have the, you're the best shooter, the best whatever, you'll never the best at everything. You might be one, but you're never the best at everything. It's just the nature of the guys.
I told you that once, but about being in the unit, you were constantly working on, being better than mediocre. It's like, damn, man. Then you exchange notes in the chow hall with guys from other squadron and hear what they're doing, and you're like, oh my God, man, I got to get to work. And then you get to PT earlier in the morning, and somebody's already there, and it's like, damn it, man.
Yeah.
And people are like, it's not like everybody's performing against a standard.
No, hell no.
These are guys making up stuff.
Yep, constantly. Yep, constantly.
Hey, I built a new obstacle course,
right.
man.
Yeah, that was me. I built 2 of them. Yeah. I mean, because we were constantly trying to outdo one another, or present ourselves with bigger and better challenges. And the great thing about the unit was that, expeditionary mindset and creative thinking were encouraged, never ever stifled.
Nope.
So yeah, you were constantly the gears were in constant motion.
Yeah. So that, I mean, not just growing accustomed to it, but there does have to be, for a hungry soul, a gratification.
Totally. Yeah. Because there's no restriction placed on you. What do you want to do? The world's your oyster. Go. Right. Pretty much you've got all your resources. If not, the resource will be figured out. But yeah, I mean,
so nobody's telling you.
Nobody's telling you. Nobody's telling you yes. Nobody's telling you no.
So do it till they tell you no.
But no,
knock that off, get that dog, pick up that dog shit, boy.
That's common courtesy, because if not, we won't get into the whole dog shit thing. The games that are played with that, but that's just common courtesy. Dog takes a dump, man. As a dog guy, you always got bags. Pick that stuff up. It's common courtesy because now Mac's coming along. He's gonna step in it. Then he's all pissed at me, and it's just bad business.
Trying to get that out of the boots.
Oh, dude, terrible, terrible. Yeah.
Okay, so and I think for our listeners, that's such an important part of this particular podcast. We're not. I mean, as I said to you offline, Rick. We tend to get a lot of the military guys only because you guys are so easy within reach to bring in and talk to. It's not that we only want to talk to that because Badassery comes in all shapes and sizes, right?
Hell yeah.
But people listen to this show because of that aspect of it. You know what I mean? It's not just that they want to know your stories, so to speak. It is that attitude and that mindset that gets communicated, and how someone like yourself, processes that after coming out of such an elite situation where you're surrounded by the best of the best. I mean, this is beyond sports teams. This is beyond being on a championship sports team, right? Yeah. Because those guys are numb nuts. Half of them are beating their wives and, doing drugs and hanging out with hookers and all that kind of stuff.
But they're so catered to, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being on the sideline of the Patriots, and I don't know which player it was, but this one dude eats whatever his little sports bar, nutrition bar, whatever, and then takes his trash and sticks it in one of, some other guy's pocket. I'd be like, hey, dude, I'm not your trash receptacle. It's right over there, dude. It's like, no way.
Right.
You think Mac just left his, plate sitting in the chow hall and was like, somebody else will get it. Yeah.
No way. I'm a superstar, man. Somebody else will pick up my shit for me.
Just, or even like with the dog shit, man. I didn't leave it there. That's arrogant, man.
Right.
Pick up your stuff. And
guys would ask me, like on the range, would you guys pick up your own brass? It's like, hell yeah, we picked up our own brass, man. And we took out our own trash and did our own laundry and made our own targets and built our own shit. Sewed our own uniforms.
Well, and that's
our equipment.
That's and talking, speaking as a Tier 1 civilian.
Yep. Tier 1
That means that you hang out with a lot of Tier 1 guys and you just glean, and especially somebody like me who likes to analyze and see this sort of stuff. It's fascinating. But one of the things that has struck me after hanging out with you guys for so long is just how decent everyone is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And how polite, how, I know that I could ask for something and you guys would be like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I pulled up here, Rick was in the driveway. Rick was like, he was on it like saran wrap. Mm-hmm. What can I do? What can I help? How, I was just like on it. So where somebody might be thinking, oh, these elite special ops guys, they might see them only in Rambo fashion and all of that, instead of thinking, no, these guys they're like super deadly Boy Scouts in a way. You know what I mean? Helping the old lady across the street, so to speak. And it stands to reason that you guys, that your ethos is going to be comprehensive, even down to the dog shit and the plate in the chow hall.
Yeah.
In other words, it manifests at that level.
But you got to, take the soldier part out of it. We're husbands, we're dads, we're brothers, we're sons. We're people.
Right.
So it's you get this mystique or whatever put around you, and just like when I go with the dogs, it's like the dogs that were killed, that's somebody that came home.
Right.
At least one, who knows how many. But that's, I think the thing that people forget is we're human beings.
Yeah.
So as a human being, I'm going to be courteous.
Right.
I'm going to sit there and help you out. Old ladies having problems, whatever. How many times do you drive by when you see the blue lights flashing? I know I slow down and just take a peek. Yeah. Hey man, is he all right? Mm-hmm. Because if he's not, he will be.
Right.
Because that thing's getting put in park, and we're gonna help him out. But that's just being a good citizen, good person. So take all the whatever you want to say with the Army out of it. Just be a good human, man.
Yeah, but again, it's that. I think it's that, which is why when we originally did this podcast, I called it Mental Excellence, based on the idea of having a spirit of excellence in everything. So obviously, that's going to apply as much to your demeanor and behavior and courtesy and all that kind of stuff. So again, I think people don't when you think, everybody's always going to think of the badass stuff in relation to these commandos. And so and you don't really know any. So your models or whatever you see on screen, whether TV or film. And so they're going to obviously portray them that way. They're not going to portray them as super nice, polite, guys that will clean up after themselves, help you do something and whatnot. Again, that sort of deadly Boy Scout sort of thing, where the Boy Scout is the one who's helping the old lady across the street. And I think it's just a very eye-opening thing. But once you sit there and meditate on it a little bit and extrapolate, that kind of ethic, then yeah, it's going to be comprehensively applied. And I think for the listener, that's, I guess, what I want to get across to them, that we do need to be. That it's not just a mindset about achieving goals and starting a business or doing this or doing that. It's about a totalism to life. Yeah. That this ethic that we espouse or talk about here is to be universally applied. Every square inch, that is under your sphere of influence, anything that is in your airspace, you're going to apply that. And that's going to be felt, I think, by people, because we don't need more smart people necessarily. We need good people. Yeah.
Decency.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
So for a restoration of decency, that it's really, really good, Rick, that you didn't disappear into the landscape that I know a lot of guys do, get their piece of land and go shoot deer or whatever. And because they did their job, they didn't want to be publicized about it. They weren't looking for that.
But even if they do, I mean, that's their choice.
Sure, but it's good to have.
I know what you're saying.
We need voices. We need people who can come out and communicate this, because you did what you did, and it did what it needed to do to preserve this great nation and this people, and just the fact that you're continuing to do it, now through everything that you do. And dude, I know you're gonna crank it up. And of course, University of Badassery, you're official adjunct professor now, man.
There you go.
So, we'll give you as much of a platform as we possibly can. You guys want to do some Q&A?
Hell yeah. Some of these were tough, bro. I don't have much of an answer on some of these, but some of them.
Now, a lot of these, I was glad I had some that I can, because oftentimes I can't make it all max questions. Otherwise, I'm sitting here like a bump on a log. Sure. But because I had a lot of these about LEO and gun, whatever stuff, then it was great to have the both of you here. So,
sure.
So here we go. No question number one, longtime listener, Army Recon Sniper, current LEO. How can you create a life, home, work balance being so mentally and physically fatigued? I'll start to the right hand of this throne, Mac.
Like, this was one that would, for me, it was hard because I think this is situationally dependent, and it depends on the individual too, and then what kind of satisfaction you're getting out of both job and home. So there's a lot of variables here that can throw the balance off of this question. For me, I love my work and I love my home, and I have interests outside of that, so I could keep the gears in motion.
It's a work-home bar balance.
Yeah, that too, because every night Saturday night, every morning is Monday morning. Boom. So that's a big one for me too. So if this guy's never heard that one before, what I do is I shut down between 6 and 7 at night, regardless. And whether it's just watching stupid TV with your kiddies, or having a glass of wine with your wife, or for me, meeting my wife out and having a pint with her. But, shut down and decompress. That decompression time is so freaking good, man. It's powerful. I'm not saying get fucked up every night. I'm just saying you have to decompress. You got to stop, because I could easily work until I go to bed.
Right.
I work for myself, so I could easily do that. But I shut down. And then when even when I go out, I don't want to talk work with dudes. I don't want to talk guns and tactics and man, just let it be. Let's talk about heavy metal and muscle cars and gardening and birds and stuff like that.
Basic dude
stuff.
Yeah, I hope everybody's enjoying that, man.
Dude, man, that has exploded,
hasn't it?
That was one of my best concoctions ever, and it's only just begun. It's only just begun. Yeah.
It's only just begun.
Oh, yeah. So that's my best answer for that.
Brother Rick.
So it's funny because I know for me and my personal, I struggle more with it now, being an entrepreneur. When I was in, it was kind of easy. So basically, it took a little bit to get there, but that drive home was the time to go,
Oh, okay.
yep, kind of put that mental block up, go, work's getting further and further in the rearview mirror.
Right.
Now I'm getting ready to go home.
I can relate to that, yeah.
Be a husband, be a dad. Did I always do it the best? Nope. Because again, you've got life is life and you're going to have struggles. But from the entrepreneurial standpoint, dude, it's hard. I struggle with it every day. So I know for a fact Mama's back home at the house. Granted, she's trying to catch up on some stuff. That's the excuse I'm telling me. But having that, having that balance, it's a struggle. And really it's up to the individual. Hey, how do you shut down? Because again, LEO, if you're at a high state, how do you shut that down? Granted, can you do it on your drive home? I don't know. Cause you're still driving in your big bullseye wagon. If
Right.
you've got to, take home or whatever, but try to leave that there. And then when you get home, be the best dad, husband, whatever it is that you can.
Yeah. The one thing I would say is one of the problems is that a guy is thinking, okay, I need to spend time with my family because it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
If that's where it is, you're always going to struggle with it until you attach a higher value and vision for your family.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where it doesn't have to be something you're telling yourself to do, where you're like, oh no, this is my trailer park aristocracy, dude. This is the empire. This is what I'm investing and building. And these are my little princes and princesses. These are the ones who are going to take over. The hell yeah, I'm running home to go be with them, et cetera. So it would help to attach some sort of larger vision. Number 2, for a non-metal guy who wants to be cool, what would you guys recommend as a starter list to launch into? Rick, you want to try this one?
Yeah. So if you want to be a cool guy, I'm going to start with either hit a pad or a Rick class. All right.
Right.
Get your basic gun handling dude stuff down. No, but really, get your mind right. Make sure that you're good with yourself. And then, because really, what's, be cool. What's that? Because what I think is cool.
Well, it's music.
Cool.
It's for non-metal guys. It's music.
I got it.
Right.
But, maybe look at change your, go from your classical, whatever you're listening to, and don't worry about your violins and listen to,
something a little heavier,
that's
right?
it. Yeah.
Something a little more adult than Katy Perry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mac, what would you tell somebody?
You know what I'm gonna tell them? You can't go wrong with anyone like of the first 3 Metallica albums to start with as playlists. Those right there, because they kind of set a groundwork for heavier stuff. But man, if you become a Priest fan, Judas Priest, get some of the older stuff, like Sad Wings of Destiny, and really listen to that, because damn, man. And then consider what they were doing at the time without any auto tune or without all the fancy equipment. These guys had to be musicians, and they kind of established their very own genre, as did Metallica years later. So become a Priest fan. You will not, I don't care what kind of music you listen to. If you listen to the Sad Wings of Destiny album, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it. And then you're going to want to explore more. You're going to want, let me try Stained Class. Let me go a little heavier and go Screaming for Vengeance, and oh, damn, now I got to go Defenders of the Faith. And then you could, and the thing is, you're spanning decades. How many decades?
Oh my gosh.
74. Are we on 5 or 6 decades? Anyway, yeah, because they're in the studio again, man.
Right.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. If first thing I would say is you don't. I don't want to give you a playlist of songs.
Right.
Okay. You gotta do what we do, which is listen to albums.
Yeah.
This music has to be. This is album music. It was written that way. So I would say for your starter pack, I want you to do Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast.
Oh yeah, good.
Right.
Perfect.
Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. Ozzy, Diary of a Madman.
Nice.
Metallica's Black Album, because even
Gateway.
I think it's a good gateway, right?
Yep.
This one I debated about, but I'm going to go and give you Megadeth's Rust in Peace.
Oh, hell yeah.
The Warning by Queensryche.
Nice.
Cowboys from Hell by Pantera. And just so somebody's represented. Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue.
Yep.
And then just to give you some taste of where your world is heading, Ashes of the Wake by Lamb of God.
Nice. Man, that was a power list.
Boom.
You go that route and you're fixed forever. It's going to be
Yes.
in your blood. Okay, so this is one's going to be for you guys to speak on. And Rick, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Are night sights a must, or are fiber optic a good, solid choice?
I think fiber optics are a good, solid choice. So here's the thing, just for me. Again, how much you doing at night, how much you doing at day. Granted, you've got a 50-50 break. If I'm looking to take shots during the day, to me, those night sights are typically bigger and don't give me the precision that I'm looking for. And I can just use whatever light source I have to use those good sights at night.
Right.
So
What's the fundamental difference between, for people who don't know?
So typically your front sight post on a fiber optic will be smaller or thinner, where your front sight post is bigger on your night sights because they've got to put some piece of tritium in there to get that glow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mac?
Yeah. So there's no right answer on this. Because some of it's personal preference, some of it's the venues you typically frequent when you're out and about, that kind of thing. So a lot of it's personal preference. For me, I work, my everyday carry is tritiums. They're Trigicon, what's it called? It's HDs. So I have tritium rear and front. So yeah, you're gonna get a variety of answers on this one. Some guys will say red dot forever too, So and you didn't even ask about that one. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, personal preference, what you're best with, how your vision is, and all that. But I find myself more when I'm carrying in areas with limited visibility, and that's when I feel most not threatened or most vulnerable, or when other people can be most vulnerable. So I love those bright ass tritiums during periods of limited visibility.
Tritium sounds like a metal band.
Yeah, could be.
It could be.
Trivium will have to move over.
That's right. Okay, number 4. How do special forces view candidates who have substance abuse backgrounds but have shown reform and recovery through sobriety in recent years? I'm considering going back in the military after 12 years in service and struggled with issues after my discharge in 2007. Rick, your professional medical opinion.
Here's my thing. If you're looking to go in and apply. I mean, I can't say what special forces, what they're going to say, but here's what I can tell you. If nothing else, again, key takeaway, you never quit. So if your drive and passion is to try to get back in and go special forces, then do it.
Right.
Put the effort in, train up for it,
So they'll obviously look into something like that.
I mean, they're going to take a look and go, hey man, I got it. What was your substance abuse back then? I mean, they're going to look at what was the driving factor. What have you done to, help yourself out? But I can't make a call what they'll do.
So can you do that? Can you go back in?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You could go back in, you could change services, you could do whatever the hell you want.
No kidding.
And that's the point. Just like Rick said, do whatever the hell you want. But be forthright, don't try to sugarcoat anything if you're asked either.
Yeah.
Just come clean with it.
You got to be truthful.
Yeah.
Because as soon as your word's in doubt, you might as well pack it up.
Additionally, the softest pillow is a clean conscience.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we're basically pushing this guy now.
Yeah, man. Get you some, bro.
There you go.
Number 5, I'm 52 and I get up at 3 a.m. to work construction for 8 hours and then commute home for an hour and a half. What's the best and healthiest energy boost to make it through my workout? You have any tips, Rick? Rick's like more sleep.
more sleep. It's I mean, I don't know how much sleep he's getting beforehand. Bunch of factors going in there. I don't know what you're eating throughout the day.
Yeah.
Ideally, if you're doing things right, you've got a good meal so that you're fueled. So hopefully you've only got a half-hour drive to the gym. So hopefully you should be already charged and not need any magical concoctions, elixirs, whatever out there. But I mean, that would be my thing. Just take a look at your diet, lifestyle, and hopefully you got the gas to get the workout in.
Matt?
Yeah, and same thing, but I'm going to add chug a lug that pint or even a quart of water on your way. If you don't plan on getting stuck in traffic, that is, because we sometimes we'll go, we'll work a work day and we have no idea that we're dehydrated because we've sipped on a bottle of water. But that'll definitely rejuvenate the system. And then, man, you can't go wrong with a cup of coffee either.
Yeah.
But stay away from all those sugary energy drinks.
Yeah. I mean, when you consider energy, it's going to come from one of two sources, right? It's going to come from glucose or it's going to come from ketones. And so everybody's becoming more akin to or aware of this, the ketosis thing. So if you want steady energy, that's one way to keep it going throughout the day. But that means you got to be willing, like Rick said, look really hard at your diet, nutrition, and are you willing to do that? I agree with Mac. I think, you got to have that. If you need that little boost, coffee's a great way to do that. And don't put it past that once you get into the gym and start doing it, your mind and body kick in after about 10 or 15 minutes. It knows, your body knows it's there. It's going to do it. It's really more the dreading we do ahead of time that kind of takes its toll on us.
And then I'm going to add one more thing on the energy boost because it always works for me. Crank up the metal.
Crank up the metal. Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Refer to question 3, whatever that was. But also you can, one other thing that I think people have to be cognizant of is stress. And we say the word stress so much that we don't really know necessarily the net effect of what it does, why it, you can make yourself sick and these sorts of things. But, I've seen people who, got a pretty cushy office job and they're working 8 or 9 hours a day. But because to them, it's so stressful, they come home and they're telling her, well, leave me alone. I need my downtime. Give me my beer, turn on the TV. And maybe he'll come back out of his coma in a couple hours and she has to hush the kids, stay away from dad. He's in a mood and whatever. Whereas I've seen other guys who'd be out on the highway throwing a sledgehammer all day in the blazing hot sun, and they get home and they're like grabbing the kids saying, let's go bowling.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because they're not stressed out about everything. And that's a thing I think you have to keep in mind is nutrition, outlook, rest, but that outlook on life has a huge part to play, because if you're goal oriented, if you're goal driven, if you're saying, no, I have I'm not just trying to go to the gym to work out. You need a goal attached to that, dude. Are you going to losing some weight? You want to add some, muscle? You want to do something? Start writing shit down. Hold yourself accountable. Just give yourself some more to be excited about. I think may help with that.
Perfect. Love it.
Number 6. Would James Hetfield, I'll be able to tell you authoritatively because he's a good friend of mine. No. Would James Hetfield be considered the technical master of the axe? And second to this question is, would Metallica be different if Cliff had not died? Rick, do you want to offer any commentary?
I'll go more to the Cliff not died side, since James, and I'll let you handle that one before I put my foot in my mouth.
Right. But Jimmy, as he's known in my house now.
There you go. No, but as far as, Cliff goes, a couple things. Would things be different? I can say probably Fade to Black wouldn't be there because that's, a tribute to him. But again, to sit there and go, would it be different? It may or may not. I don't know. You can never predict one of those. That's the only thing I can say would be different is there wouldn't be a tribute song to him. Yeah. So other than that, I don't.
Right. There wouldn't be a whole lot. Mac, what do you think?
For the Cliff thing, hell yeah, it'd be different, but better or worse, nobody knows.
Yeah, we don't know.
Nobody knows. And then as far as, I'm going to say, yeah, man, James is the master of the axe. Because damn, man, that guy's got mega talent. I mean, because he's singing all the lyrics and he could actually sing, which is cool. And he's carrying the main riffs, the main, all the main riffs in the song.
Yeah, he's a composite as a lyricist. That's another thing about this. I lyrically I'll put him up with a Rob Halford.
Yeah, right on.
Because they don't write the obvious dark stuff.
Right.
The scary stuff like a Sabbath would. They write just cool stuff that you're like, wow, that. like we talked about before with like Dissident Aggressor, or like things like the titles like Fade to Black, Creeping Death, Master of Puppets, on and Wherever I May Roam. Just think of the lyrical content of that song in and of it. Or Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not overtly evil. It's just the old what's under the bed type thing. But then that, you know, that riff is that song. Everybody knows that song. Like I remember watching an interview with Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. And it was a film about Metallica, so they're interviewing other rock stars. And so Dee's commenting, and Dee said, "Yeah, I remember when I first heard that song, Enter Sandman, and that opening, boom, boom, doo, doo, doo." And I'm just thinking, where the hell is this going? You know, and because it does have that kind of feel. So it's just as songwriters, as a team, obviously they're incredible, but you know, you can't take away from the fact that Dave Mustaine was such a driving force riff wise for the original Metallica.
Right.
But just the fact that they went on and do what they did, you know, as songwriters, to me, elevates. To me, when I think of the three personas that embody metal, would be the ones that I would put on my skin in a tattoo. It would be Rob Halford, Steve Harris, Iron Maiden, and James Hetfield. To me, those are the three guys that embody the spirit. I mean, you want to be entertained, go back and watch, what's the name of that? It's from the Seattle or whatever show from the...
Cunning Stunts?
Cunning Stunts, yeah. Just watch
Little
that
play
live
on words
performance.
there.
Or
I almost said Stunning
Or
Cunts.
I mean, if you want to see pure,
Dude, that is a badass show, man.
yeah, if you want to see pure musical ferocity, watch that, or watch Metallica do Creeping Death in Moscow in 1991, when they're playing in front of 500,000 people, and there's helicopters flying over the crowd, but how ferocious they are as a band, to me, still is the most untouchable thing in the world. But would Metallica be different if Cliff had not died? Some people, when people ask that question, what they mean to say is, would Metallica have not done the 90s records? That's what they're trying to say. Yeah. And you don't know, because, you know, they were all of the same Cliff mindset back then. It wasn't like Cliff was the only one. They were all like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Hating posers and true metal and I bleed metal. But, you know, I mean, people
Glam
change.
stands for gay, lame-ass music. That was a Dave Mustaine line.
Dave Mustaine, yeah. Okay, so moving on from that. Number 7, automatic or manual transmission. In what situations is the one more desirable than the other? Ric Hogg.
So if I've got a standard transmission, I know this new generation ain't stealing my car.
Dude, best answer ever.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
man.
But then again, if I'm gonna be stuck in traffic, I want that automatic transmission, because there's nothing worse than having to sit there and play with that clutch when you're stuck in, no kidding, bad city traffic. So.
Yeah, Mac.
Manual for a muscle car, because it's cool.
Yeah,
and because it kind of personified muscle cars. You know, you need that 4 on the floor.
Right.
But when I'm like driving schools and high speed stuff, I love that. I love that automatic, man. I love that.
Yeah, especially the way the cars are made now.
Yeah.
It used to be you had always had this, the turbo this, or what was the air thing that used to be on cars, like the...
like cowl injection.
Yeah. So you had to get that to... Now it's just like everything kind of is just stock now. It's just a good car. I'd say manual transmission at this point, because that's all I do. Number 8, what's your advice for someone joining the Army and wanting to make the long walk? Rick, you've made the long walk. Have you not?
Oh, yeah.
Did you only do it once, or did you have to do that?
No, I was a repeat customer.
Okay. Mac, you were a repeat customer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Repeat customer.
Did you get injured on the long walk?
No.
Okay.
But during that course, yes.
Okay. Rick, you want to give him just some sort of idea what a long walk is?
So really, the long walk is just the final to a selection process within the special operations community, and
is as described a long walk,
it's a long walk.
But it's more than just going over. You obviously have terrains and things that you have to contend with, and you're put in a situation where nothing is given to make it easy. If anything, it's in a place where you're half the battle is probably mental.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. So if that being the case, then what advice would you give for someone who wants to join the Army and get to the place where they can make that?
So I'll say, first of all, heads up, you got a good goal. But how do you get to that goal? So there's obviously a lot of work you got to do. You're just not going to arbitrarily jump in and do that. Biggest success you'll see with guys in special operations, very good endurance athletes. So you've got to have that endurance to be able to go, over distance, carrying some type of load on your back. And really, I would go look at some type of stepping stone type process. So whether you come to, go in the infantry, go from there, whether you do either 82nd, Ranger Regiment, I don't care. Look there, I would probably go Special Forces, get some more experience there. Again, just making yourself better. Again, it's another selection process. And then if that's what you opt to do, kind of go from there.
Yeah. Mac?
It would all be redundant. Yep. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So
my answer exactly.
You're going to have to take a long walk someday, so get ready for it. Okay. What is your favorite metal songs that is instrumental with no vocals? That's redundant.
Dude, I have 3 answers, and I swear one of them we're going to have the same.
Okay. So, Rick, do you want to comment on it before it gets super technical over here?
Yeah. So mine isn't really metal per se, but I would say as far as, instrumental song, I'm going to go with Jimi Hendrix Star Spangled Banner. Done at Woodstock.
Didn't even think about that.
Because yes, it's not metal, but here's the thing. Essence, you've got a paratrooper, which people forget Hendrix was. Yes, he was also doing drugs, but here nor there. He was still a veteran. Ended up breaking his back, I think it was on a jump. But anyway, goes into rock and roll. Star Spangled Banner at Woodstock during Vietnam. Right. What kind of statement is that?
Dude, it's a
good answer.
That's a good point.
So it's not necessarily within the metal spectrum, but again, it's a kind of tip your hat.
I love that, dude.
Yep.
That's a really
perfect.
You're now excused from a long list of songs. I don't think you'd be able to do that, but dude, that was the best answer ever. Mac.
Well, I'm going to start with one that's not obvious, because there are a couple obvious tunes. Just saying. But Instruments of Destruction by Chimera. It's like 13 minutes long, and it is awesome. It's really good. It goes in and out, up and down. I mean, the tempo changes a little bit, but it's a really easy listening tune also. And then 2 of them are Metallica songs, Call of Cthulhu and Orion.
Orion, yeah. Yeah, this is a tough one because there's some things that are obviously instrumental because there are instrumental players out there. So this is not in any order, but I would say Black Star from Yngwie's first album, Rising Force. For the Love of God by Steve Vai. Tears of Sahara by Tony McAlpine. If you don't listen to Tony McAlpine, one of the greatest guitar players you will ever hear. And he came up at the same time of the Yngwie's, Steve Vai guys at that time. Orion, which Mac mentioned. Mr. Scary by George Lynch. Dokken.
Yeah. Damn it, man. I forgot that one.
Of course, Eruption, just because it's up there with that Star Spangled Banner kind of like world-changing type of thing.
It kind of set the tone.
Yeah. Genghis Khan by Maiden off their first album. La Villa Strangiato from Rush. And then I'm going to give a special mention of something that never gets talked about, but it is a badass solo, and it is the solo called Battle Axe by Carlos Cavazo off the first Quiet Riot album, the Metal Health album.
Right on.
Dude, it's Dime used to play it in the clubs back in the day. He'd always play Carlos's solo, so that's what I would say. There's, again, you could go into, forever about these instrumentals because there's so many instrumental players now. Number 10. What's been your craziest adrenaline rush, and how do you control that adrenaline dump during combat? Ric Hogg.
So I'm going to say for me, when you jump out of a plane 5+ miles up in the sky, yeah, it's a pretty good adrenaline rush. At night with a whole bunch of luggage that you really don't want to carry. Yeah.
Now, do you jump with a dog?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's a whole it's a different, it's similar but different. You're just using a different rig. But yeah.
So now the Halo, is that the one where it gets lower altitude before you?
Right. High altitude, low opening. Yep.
Okay. Right.
So you're jumping way up there and you're free.
So is that one scarier than the,
So hey-ho, you got to think. So when you're doing a hey-ho, right? So imagine being 5 miles plus up, whatever altitude you're going out. And now you come out, you do a short count, throw your chute. Now you're in this harness, floating, thinking, for probably 45+ minutes going, I've got these 2 clips keeping me in this little thing that hopefully I don't
two little clips,
But yeah, that's a pretty good.
So did the halo thing be akin getting used to? Because if you're used to pulling it much on the hey-ho, I guess is what you said.
Yeah. So on a hey-ho, you're pulling it pretty almost, shortly after exit. Where halo, you're actually falling.
That took some getting used to, right?
I won't say getting used to. The adrenaline rush comes in the mere fact of it's one thing to jump out at 12,500. I mean, it's still an adrenaline rush. Don't get me wrong. But now when you start going up that much higher, you start seeing the curvature of the earth. It's just a different.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, man. Yeah.
I was going with the same thing. Night halo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Combat equipment, night halo out of a, off the tailgate of a high performance aircraft. Mm-hmm. And damn, man. But how did something like
how
do you
control that adrenaline?
You just adapt to it over time. Mm-hmm. All that stuff.
You're used to working with that sort of.
You are, but I think that the thing, as far as the combat side, when you're going to the fight with the best dudes, and you got the best top cover, you got aircraft stacked up,
echelons of security.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's not there to sound arrogant,
right?
But it's almost, hey man, I got the boys, and you're going to do business,
right?
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got to be an empowering feeling as well, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're there to be proven always.
Yeah, I've had way more of an adrenaline rush in training than anything in combat.
Right, because your enemy can't fire you, but you get fired for messing up a night.
Yeah,
or get killed,
or get killed. Yeah.
Okay. Number 11. Is it disrespectful for someone who did not serve in the military to get an American flag tattoo?
Hell no.
Mm-mm.
It should be tattoo away.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I think the key thing is somebody's attaching being in the military as far as being an American. We all have the title American. If you want to put the flag on your skin, do it. Here's the thing. Would I like to see everyone serve? Sure, absolutely. Am I also a realist that there's different situations in everyone's life? Yep, I got it.
Right.
But dude, at the end of the day, you are an American. You want to put that pride in your skin? Put away.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mac?
Yeah, I already said it.
Okay.
I answered it instantly. I said, hell no, it's not disrespectful.
Okay, so
tattoo away.
Well, then let me ask you. I'm looking across the street here. I see an American flag on this outside this house.
Yep.
Mac's neighbor.
Yep.
You got American flag on your sleeve. Mm-hmm. Mac's got one tattooed to his. No, he doesn't. He's got Judas Priest on his body.
That's right.
We see where his loyalty is to the metal. But so what from your guys' vantage point? I mean, I know you're obviously objective about things, and you're not going to get thrown off the handle about this. But to see people treating the flag as they do, who obviously have no idea what in the hell they've been out of the womb for an hour and a half, and they're
Yeah, I mean, in the disrespectful manner, you got to think. Here's the deal. It's cheap to say, and people don't understand, but yeah, blood has been shed for that flag. It is a symbol of all of us Americans. Mm-hmm. So when you sit there and disrespect the very symbol of us, yes, you're disrespecting the flag, but you're also disrespecting the rest of the citizens that hold the title American. Right. Regardless whether you're military, regardless whatever. So, yes, we've got the right to free speech. But again, to me, that is our symbol as Americans. If you want to sit there and voice your opinion, but do not disgrace the flag.
Yeah. Seems like a strange hill to want to die on. That's your battle?
Yeah, man. It doesn't, I don't get it. I've defended their right to be a douchebag, mm-hmm. And I understand that there's a lot of sheeple out there.
Right.
And I am still going to, protect their right to be a douchebag. Just that I will never, ever associate with you. You will not be in my circle or part of my tribe.
You're not going to be on this podcast either, man.
Hell no.
We're just going to talk shit about you anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think, the flag tradition, everything is sort of being assaulted on now by, certain elements within, the establishment, particularly education. Some of these professors are
Yeah,
they're doing
out there.
They're doing some preaching because
Yeah.
these kids are raising hell. You know what I mean? And you know, obviously the flag means white supremacy. It means this. It means that. It means all these terrible things. And even
nowadays,
even if that were true, I mean, even if that were true, for people who proclaim social justice, it's amazing how you don't understand justice, because justice is an equalizing of the balance. That's why Lady Justice holds a pair of scales in her hands.
And she's blind.
Yeah. And that's why a lawyer has a pair of scales usually on their business card. Why? Because it's about justice. So if the scales are out of balance, it's unjust. If they're balanced, then it's just. So you're advocates of social justice, yet your scales are out of balance, because even if any of that were true, I want you to set over against what you think is represented bad about that tradition or flag, as set over against the good that it has produced. And you're going to tell me that there is way more evil than what has been positively produced. Yeah. So this is a simple, basic thing of you need to count your blessings. You have no concept. And if anything, man, it's just, if that's your battle, whether it's the American flag or this tradition or the Betsy Ross flag or whatever, protesting at a football game, that's all the evidence you need to know that you're in the greatest place you could possibly be in. Absolutely. Because you have the freedom, not just the freedom to give expression, but there's nothing else sorry in your life that's the fight that you're picking.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You're not fighting for your life. You're not in the run from a tribe that's coming in to slaughter you. You don't have a warlord down the road. You don't have kids all maxed out on drugs. No, that's your battle. Yeah. That's your battle. Ridicule America, because that just shows me, man, you have got way too much fucking time on your hands, and life is way too good for you because that's your trial. Holy crap.
You know things are pretty good when you're pissing and moaning over nickel and dime shit.
There you go. Yeah. Number 12, last question. Can you guys give, now this is going to be a tough one. Can you guys give an in-depth analysis of the film Dumb and Dumber?
Damn, man. Is this real?
It's a real question, but
you know, there's a great quote from that. One of them is something like, let me see if I can remember. Just when I couldn't think, just when I thought you couldn't be any dumber, you go ahead and do something like this and totally redeem yourself. Yep, I love their true love affair. Those two idiots.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where it becomes a part of your vernacular.
Oh yeah.
You know, like every time I get in the car with the kids and we're going to drive somewhere, we're pulling out and I'm going, we're really doing it. Remember when they first started? We're really doing it, buddy. But no, I think that's what they want to hear is, hey, when did you first see it? Did you think it was too stupid at first? Did it grow on you? Is it a part of
it grew on me.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing. I mean, look at the entertainment. And I think it was back in the 90s when it came out, you know? Yeah, it was kind of you sitting there going, wow, I just watched that. All right, I might be a little dumber. But that's all right. You know, you got to chuckle out of it. You got some entertainment.
It's called Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. You know, but you look at some of the rubbish coming out today and you go, yeah, it's really not that bad.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine, who named Chris Harris, who he's an interesting guy. I would love to have him on the podcast. Something I'd love for you to meet him. He's the guy who sent that Warrior Makers shirt way back. Mm-hmm. Well, he wrote the book, Complete Idiot's Guide to Self-Defense. So he trains special ops teams around the world in you know, whatever hand-to-hand stuff. And in fact, I remember, here's an interesting story about that. When he was writing that book, I had an office in Raleigh. And he said, man, dude, I got to hunker down. I got to write this book in 3 months. He said, I need your space. So I said, all right, I'll go work at a home. You can have he's had my office for 3 days. 3 months. He put a cot in there. And you had a guy assisting him who would run to the library, the university libraries, and get books and stuff. And so one day I called him, and he would call me. My last name's Ortiz. He would call me Ortega. So one time I called him, and I said, Harris. I said, how's it going, man? He goes, Ortega. I've learned 2 things. I said, what? He goes, number 1, I'm not a self-defense expert. Number 2, I'm quickly becoming one. But anyway, we used to go, we saw movies like that together. We saw Matrix together for the first time. It was an empty theater. Nobody knew about The Matrix. I had a friend who's a screenwriter in Hollywood, and he called me. He says, "There's a film coming out called The Matrix. Go see it." I saw an early release. He says, "Go see this movie," and of course, revolutionized our life. You know, that first time when Trinity kills those cops, whatever. But anyway, he used to call me up to go to the movies all the time. And so one time he calls me, he goes, "Ortega," he goes, we always said it this way. He goes, "Go in the movies tonight. Are you in or are you gay?" You'll have your choice. So I said, what do you want to see? He goes, "That new movie, Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo." And I said, "Dude, is that going to be dumb?" He goes, I said, "Is it going to be funny?" He goes, he just stopped for a second. He paused. He goes, "Dude, it's called Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo. How can that not be funny?" So there's something, but he's like he's serious. One time he was in a meeting with a bunch of sheriffs and police captains and things. And I hit him up and he saw it was me and he answered the phone while this meeting, and he's heading up the meeting. And he goes, "Chris Harris, something solutions." He knew it was me.
Right.
And I said, "Harris, yes." Because I could hear, he was not his normal self. I said, "Are you in a meeting?" "Yep." "Oh, is this that one with all the sheriffs?" "Yep." I said, "Why are you answering the phone?" He didn't say a word. I said, "All right, I'm going to let you go. One question." He goes, "Yep." I said, "Are they all gay?" He goes, "Affirmative." You know what I mean? It's like he was in the most serious moment, but there's that part of you know what I mean? Where just that, and so to me, that's the appeal of the Dumb and Dumber.
Yep.
It's just that we've all got that, let's say, I can always relate to little kids. They said, "Why?" "Because I'm about 5 minutes older than they are." You know what I mean? That's all it takes to get a guy right back into that moment and laughing about farts and the same stuff that we always do. And so, I think people get put off by a movie like that. It was so dumb. Well, it's called Dumb and Dumber, dude. That's the point. But then the more you watch it and it grows on, you realize, holy crap, that was some comical, comical genius. Well, that's all the questions that we have. Before we go, though, today, and I want to have Rick share his information, how people can get contacted with him. However, Mac, we got some good stuff coming up. By the time this airs, people may find out about a product that you're coming out with, your own training gear.
Yeah. So my new product is going to be the Get You Some bands. Many people watching my Insta Shizzle feed, seeing me work out with bands, have asked, "Hey, bro, what kind of bands you using?" So that's been over the past 6 months. So I decided to develop my own. So those are coming out. I think I'm going to make them hot here this week.
Yeah.
Along with a instructional video done by Joe Ortiz.
Yes, right.
And it is freaking rock and roll, man. It's good. He's got a good little bit of metal in there too, which is pretty cool. Good little bonus. So that's my new thing coming up soon.
Yeah, so we'll have more information, obviously, more in the future. When you hear this podcast, it may have already come out, but you can hit up Mac on his IG and find out more about that, which is TMACSINC. So at T-Max Inc. And of course the website, same thing, TMaxInc.com. You can go to his store to get some of his gear, like Gas It Up, Burn It Down, Sentinel. What else?
Get You Some.
Blaze Ops. Right? Stuff for chicks too.
Yep.
And just all kinds
of booty.
Cool gear. But Rick, people who want to learn more about what you're doing and anything, projects you're working on, something you want to promote.
Yeah, so we've got a canine product line we're getting ready to launch here shortly. I'm want to stick with Made in the USA, which I have found is a little bit harder. So we're struggling a little bit, but we just need to work out our manufacturing a little bit. So hopefully, I'm hoping by a launch beginning of next year.
Great.
So we'll get that.
And you want to talk about what kind of products they are? Or you want to hold off? Or
no? So I mean, we're going to run a kind of unique leash collar vest system, but it's all independent as well.
Okay.
So it will work collectively as one, and it's just not geared towards LEO military. It has a very equal application to the civilian market.
Nice.
And of course, you are doing firearms training.
We're doing firearms training as well. So we've got, so if you go to War Hogg 2Gs, WARHOGG.com, All our open enrollment stuff is on the website. I'm also doing some stuff. We're doing the Tactical Games University, which I'm running.
Oh, cool.
So people that are interested in doing the tactical games, or even if you're not interested in the tactical games and just looking for firearms training with a little kick of fitness in there, we're throwing that in there as well. That's on the website. Again, IG is War Hogg Tactical. We've got a YouTube page as well. That's War Hogg Tactical. Also, hit me up on Facebook because Facebook is crushing me right now. I've got zero traction. They just want to squelch for whatever reason. And I don't know what the magic sauce is.
Well, we'll talk about that when we're all done tonight. But
and then we can't forget War Dog 2Gs Duco. Yeah, so Duke's got his own page, and you can check out Duco if you go to warhogg.com or the YouTube. We've got a couple videos of him doing some pretty cool stuff.
That's great. Well, and I'll just from having spent some time with Rick, and I encourage those who are looking into some of this to hit him up, because I realize that there's a lot of trainers out there. There's a lot of people, in this space. Obviously, you guys who, have the kind of background that you do, that sets you apart. But then even beyond that, getting into the personal aspect, I've just been so impressed. Everybody knows how impressed I am with Mac, but just how delighted I've been, how excited I've been to have you here. And you and I go back and forth on social and texting and whatnot. Yeah. And he's just been such a huge boost to me, and just so generous with his own space. And I just, just a great human being. So I encourage anybody to go, please check out his stuff. Follow him on IG, because that's a great way to keep up with what he's doing regularly. I know he does all his promotions there. So that's awesome. If you'd like to follow me, that is metzelmotivation.com. And that's on Facebook. That's on YouTube, because I got in early. I own all the Metal Motivation domains, except on Instagram. I went with Metal Motivator because it was more about the individual. So at Metal Motivator there, and of course at University of Badassery, because this is, we're building on this. And I tell you what, guys, I'm so thankful for all the reviews, all the messages that you guys give us. If you do have any questions you'd like to hear us tackle on future podcasts, be sure to DM University of Badassery. Don't go after Mac's page. He's got enough direct messages to have to weed through. If you have questions and stuff, believe me, he'll see them. Just send those to the University of Badassery page. You can go to theuniversitybadassery.com if you want to check out some gear. But gentlemen, thank you so much for being, dude, you're just...
Thank you, brother.
You're Ric Hogg. You're Ric Hogg, 2 G's, bro.
2 G's.
Yeah. Double G. Ric Double G.
The original.
That's it. And of course, always
H-O-G-G.
Mac, for opening up your home and taking time out of your schedule to
right on, bro.
Teach
Love to do it, man.
People. So all I got to say is, remember, whatever you do,
don't suck.
Metal up.